Seems now mine if you have to. You just have to spell it perfectly. Assistant. Okay. Maine County. The green check mark there. So you're gonna have to use mine because it wants the keynoted. Just use the X there. The X. No. Now type. They'll have to program yours in. Okay, so now we're recording. So now go to the 10 and you can start with. If you pull down, you'll always see what's at the top. You don't need us.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That does go back and double check it.
Okay.
Sure.
That's right.
How we doing?
You're set.
I'm going to call to order the September 3rd, 2025 Commissioners' regular meeting. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
I'm gonna move to accept the agenda as presented, with the exception of removing 8B, approve the installation of a in the jail's control room.
I'll second that.
We have discussion. Good morning, Tim. Adjustment to the agenda, we've removed your request for approval for the base unit. We don't believe that's an issue. The commissioners need to be involved in.
I just want to make sure that maintenance is going to assist with the
You
funding.
know, you're working it all out in-house.
Okay.
Good luck. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Public comments. Is there anybody here this morning would like to make a public comment? Is there anybody online wishing to make a public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the previous minutes.
All right, I'm gonna move to approve the minutes of the August 19th, 2025 Commissioners' Special Meeting as presented.
You.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unorganized territory. Miller, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
We have your report. Anything to add?
Franklin has finally signed a snowplow contract. So our contract for Martin's Ridge will go up from 4,000 a year to 5,000 a year. I'll get that for your next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds good. I'm gonna move to accept and file the UT monthly report as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Miller, update on paving back road and Mountain Ridge? Any-
I was up there on the 25th and they had the gravel almost done. And they were planning on starting paving after Labor Day. So tried to call Peter Nason this morning, but his phone wasn't coming in, so I didn't know. Maybe he's up there now and didn't have any reception.
Okay. Okay. Gentlemen, anything else with Miller UT? So, Miller, you all set?
All set, thank you.
Thank you. Airport, good morning, Leroy.
Good morning.
We have your monthly report. Anything to add?
Nope, building project is getting underway, so it looks like that's really gonna happen.
Sounds good. Move to accept and file the monthly airport report as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 So the next one is the acceptance of the grant offer for the reconstruction of the service road taxi lane.
All right, I'm gonna move to approve the grant offer BHB 3-23-0006-03, 063-2025 reconstruct service road and construction taxi lane E extension in the amount of $659,804. And authorize the chair to sign on behalf of Hancock.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 The next one is the grant offer for the terminal building windows.
All right, I'm gonna move to approve the grant offer BHB 3-2006-064-2025 terminal building window replacement project in the amount of $481,079 and authorize the chair to sign on behalf of Hancock County.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 The last one is actually the contract with CEM DP Porter for the terminal building windows.
I move to contract for the terminal windows project to CEM DP Porter of Herman, Maine, and the amount of $393,600. And to allow Jacobs to send the notice of award and the contract to CEM DP Porter for their signature.
I'll second that.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So, Leroy, we'll talk about that electronic signing thing.
Okay, yep, no problem. Thank you.
Anything further, Leroy?
Nope, I'm good.
Thank you. Emergency management. We see Andy this morning.
He's on,
He is today.
should be on, yep.
Good morning.
Good morning. We have your report. Anything to add, Andy?
I do not, Commissioners. Thank you.
All right, I'm moving to accept and file the EMA monthly report as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Andy, anything else from your office this morning?
No, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you. Jay, morning, Jim.
Morning. Last year we signed a 3-year contract, but with a 1-year-to-year extension. We just had the mock audit with the DOC to do an audit on their services in the whole jail. We passed it well. They a lot of improvements. Very happy where we are. So, with that notification, I think we extend their contract 1 year.
All right, I'm gonna move to authorize a 1-year contract extension to Alternative Correctional healthcare for medical and mental health services for the Hancock County Jail.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Just wondering if there's anything that needs to be signed or.
No, I talked, the attorney was actually here for some training, Marquez was here for training, that they had the discussion. Unless they think something needs to be changed, but I don't think anything needs to be changed,
Okay.
it's one of the same contract. There's a 3-year contract signed, so he said that there should be no signatures needed, so.
Okay, thank you. The sheriff is up next. The spokesman this morning is unavailable right now. And wanted to know if his business could be continued, but it's just, I think it's just a matter of formality here that we have to find an account to pay for the consultant services on the camera bids and to finalize the documents. I'm gonna proceed with that, and if for some reason,
Basically, I think it's just that it was okay.
yeah, well, if they,
Okay, that's fine.
okay, they find that whatever we did at their displeasure, we can revisit that later if they want. So, Michael, I'm gonna turn to you. We need to find an account to pay for the consultant's fee. And we talked about taking that out of a reserve account and replenish that in 26. Is that what we're still doing?
Well, so originally we talked about a number of different things. I think at first they thought maybe the community benefits, but then when you had the next subsequent meeting, you had mentioned about taking the contract amount, that first portion of it anyway, out of that reserve account, but that had just barely enough to cover that payment. So in order for us to put it there would require us to overdraw a reserve account, which is really kind of not how that normally works, obviously. I know the sheriff's office would prefer at least to have it recognized that if you do take it from the reserve accounts, that you respectfully replenish that as part of the 2026 budget, and that not be considered as them asking for a bunch more money, because it's really just replacing funds that were used in place of the first year of the contract. But I mean, in terms of which reserve accounts you take, I mean, that's part of the trouble that Monica and I had, because there wasn't really an account that's a reserve account that really made it kind of clear that radios are even remotely tied to that reserve. And since you designate the reserve accounts and kind of have responsibility for that, we didn't want to proceed without getting approval. We'll probably have to issue him a check this week anyway, but I don't know if you had a recommendation, Monica, of any other reserves. I don't think we really found anything that we thought was clear.
At that small amount,
But yeah,
I would have recommended overspending one of the budget lines, either under the commissioner or,
Which account, did we take it out of the,
it would have been the radio one, I believe.
well, for the vehicle, it came out of the radio reserve, G1 3014-01. That's for the vehicle purchase. I mean, the body camera purchase.
and that's where that came? From the radio account?
That's right. So if we take the amount for the body cameras, and if we take the amount for the consultation, it puts the radio reserve in a negative balance. So as long as you're willing to fully replenish that in the next budget year, then we can go with that, or we can find another place to spend the funds for that consultation.
I don't think there was ever any discussion about not replenishing it next year.
Okay,
That was always been my idea, that's the plan.
okay,
I thought it was just up to you to tell us where you want to pay it from and we replenish that next
oh,
year.
because originally it had been discussed that it might come out of community benefits,
No,
so,
this is an SO expense.
Yeah,
This is
okay.
a legitimate,
okay,
they need to pay their expenses.
so when it comes time, we'll have a.
So were you suggesting that we overdraw the radio, SO radio reserve account?
Yes,
add it back in.
and we'll have a transfer sheet for that later.
Okay. So, we'll authorize that when we get the transfer sheet, but do you need anything today so that you can pay the bill?
The transfer sheet will do.
Yeah, but we won't sign that today.
Yep.
Oh, we will?
Yep.
Okay.
We have ESP, so we kind of figured we might go that way.
Okay, very good. So what's left here with regards to documents?
So, as I briefly mentioned, but the Fleetwood Financing State Bank all of a sudden sent me this email and said, sign it. So once I got into it to look at it, it's basically the lease agreement with the down payment and the money that you've already talked about for the down payment, as well as the $250 documentation fee, which I assume can just come out of the current year budget, but, it requires, basically it was set up for me to sign just about everything, other than there were two places, a signature card place where the sheriff's name had been added, and then another section of, which I highlighted for you, where the sheriff's name, was put in as a witness to my signature as the, but you hadn't really authorized, we hadn't even discussed the paperwork, hadn't seen the lease, certainly didn't authorize me to sign the stuff. So what I'm looking for is whether or not you want to approve of the lease documents that you saw, authorize me to sign them, and then on that one particular document, do you want me to try to go back to them and see if they can change that so that commissioner chairs signing it, or do you care, just let us get it done, I guess, so.
We were told by Dakota here at one of these meetings that the paperwork between them and the company, so we never had any interest in getting involved. I don't think we do now, do we, John?
No, I think we could just have, like,
Just that it's a legal document, so I mean,
so,
it's a contractual obligation on your part, so.
so I'm gonna move to approve the resolution, resolution.
Well, yeah, that would be the second, that's the other portion of it. So basically, yeah, you'd have to read out, so you should have that in front of you. Basically, that was the other requirement of it, is that there's a section that also provides you with a resolution indicating that,
Just to clarify, this is the lease purchase, right?
that's what I understood, yeah.
This great lease. We own it at the end of the lease period, right?
That is my understanding.
It's critical.
That was exhibit D, John, I think, for that resolution, but I also had a separate form, but basically that's the language on exhibit D.
That's the.
If they change it, by the company. Did you find that? Exhibit D was
Exhibit B.
C as in like dog. I mean, I haven't. Yeah. There a actual copy of that in the signature document you had or no?
All right, let's see. Let's see. Determination of need. Right. The governing body obligator has determined that a true and very real need exists in the acquisition of the equipment described in Exhibit A of the government obligation contract dated as of August 25th, 2025, between Hancock County, Maine, and Fleetwood Finance Leasing Services. Committee, the equipment subject to the contract is ordinary, necessary, and essential to the operations of the obligator. Approval and authorization, the governing body of the obligator has determined that the contract substantially in the form presented to this meeting is in the best interest of the obligator for the acquisition of such equipment, and the governing body hereby approves entering into the contract by the obligator and hereby designates and authorizes the following persons to execute and deliver the contract on the obligator's behalf with such changes thereto as such persons deems appropriate, and any related documents, including any escrow agreement necessary to the consummation of the transaction contemplated by the contract. Authorized individuals, Crooker, County Administrator.
That's the resolution, John.
Yeah.
Okay, you've made a motion for a resolution, Sam.
I'll second that.
So where does that go? Who signs that?
This one's Michael signed
So that'll be,
with the
yeah,
sheriff.
basically that becomes part of that electronic document package.
Okay, so all in favor of the motions?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Michael, with regards to these purchase, you don't need that today, but okay, if you find that that's a straight lease, you really have to put everything on hold.
So basically, the government obligation contract is what beginning portion, and it says in it, this government obligation contract as of the date listed above between obligee, obligee, and obligor, listed directly above. Obligee desires to finance the purchase of the equipment described in Exhibit A to obligor, and obligor desires to have obligee finance the purchase of the equipment subject to the terms and conditions of the contract, which is set below. So I mean, I will double check everything, but as far
I
as
think it's quite clear for purchase.
yeah, I mean, that's what I understood, and that's what that seems to indicate.
So is there anything further we need to do on B?
I think as long as it's clear you're authorizing me to sign it and get those documents completed, then that's,
I'm going to do the motion as I had presented. It says, move to approve the resolution as read and authorize County Administrator Michael Crooker to sign all related documents on behalf of Hancock County.
I'll second that.
All, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
thank you.
Okay, that's it. Chief, we've taken care of those two items. Basically, we just overdrew the account that we took the money out of, and we'll replace that in the 26 budget. And we've just made the resolution and authorized Michael to sign the paperwork. So you're all set on A and B.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Moving on to maintenance. Good morning, Dennis. We have your report. Anything to add?
Yeah, I wanted to, mention that we did meet the state of Maine regarding their plans, and I know that you're all have been apprised of that, so I didn't want to overtax my report with redundant information.
And, of course, we're doing budget stuff today. Any news on rates for 26 and all?
No, I think it's still in development, the letter.
Okay.
Request for an increase.
I'm going to move to accept and file the maintenance monthly report as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I've got a status transition from full-time to part-time.
I'll move to approve the transfer of Mackenzie Blake from a full-time to part-time employee effective September 7th, 2025.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, Hancock site EOC update. The most recent occurrences of finally spoken with code enforcement officer in Hancock. We're going to meet at 1 o'clock on the 10th, Wednesday the 10th. And Charles and company will make their presentation to the town at that time. And I think what they've done is they've asked the chairman of the planning board to attend. And he will take the presentation to his board too, so they can take it under advisement as well. With respect to our contract, we're looking at using Elliott Jordan and Sons in order to accomplish two things. One, to help us close up the transaction that we have with them. We have a reserve amount of $400,000 with Al. And so they're going to do the roof for us, which will commence the 22nd of September. So that's good news. And we're also going to talk to them and the town or the city of Ellsworth rather about constructing a new water line, which will run from the street across the back border of our property to feed our new buildings, also to provide us with that further access down the road for the buildings that go beyond. And this is something that is that we can self-perform and use those funds elsewhere in the contract with E.L. Shea. We are going to have to apply for a road opening permit from the town of Hancock, and also schedule that 2-inch connection with Ellsworth Water, which we're operating right now. The log cabin is something that we've talked about, moving portions of the renovation, for instance, the building of the wall and other interior renovations and enclosure. We may self-perform that in order to hasten their ability to move in and occupy that space. I've got a list from Andrew of things that he needs to have in place and done before they can move in. And it's likely that that's going to happen for well before anything E.L. Shea can do for us. So they still will handle everything infrastructure wise, but we might move to hasten the construction inside in order to accommodate his move out there. He's told me he doesn't mind working amid a construction zone, but doesn't want to work in, which I agree and sympathize with. And then there's the issue of paving. I think that once we get a good grasp on the cost of a water line and a good understanding what the roof's gonna cost us. The remainder is well spent in paving the areas beyond and outside the contract in a way that can be done immediately and allow us to, hopefully before snow flies, close out this deal with Elliott Jordan and prevent having to sign some type of extension. And we've moved from the design phase to the construction phase. Mr. Fowler's put out the earthwork design, which is the final piece for E.L. Shea to give us that not to exceed number for building construction, which we will then approve this. If it comes up against it, we've also been given the option to work in phases, approve just the groundbreaking portion. And so we can begin work earlier, but it looks like it's all gonna come together so that we can move forward with the project in its entirety. And that's what we have to do.
So gentlemen, what needs to be clear today here is though we're basically agreeing to allow Dennis and Michael and I as your representative on the EOC site to take care of these three projects he's talking about, the roof, the water line, and the paving, and those documents showing that we have met our $400,000 commitment to Elliott Jordan and Sons, and they have done their $400,000 worth of work for us and get that closed out. So that's something that's going to be occurring. And it may not come back to you for approval until that work is done and reported as we have completed that document. Just as long as you understand that, you're okay with that?
Yeah.
Dennis, I think we can move forward then.
Very good. Thank you. Unless there's anything else? Very good, thank you.
I will say though, that the money that we can save doing self-performed work for the whatnot, we can put towards movables in the EOC building, which we have no funds for. So that's going to give us some money for everything, desk chairs, cabinets and so on. So that's going to help. That's money we won't have to find down the road when we get ready to move into it. Bob, good morning.
Morning.
We have your report. Anything to add?
The only thing I would add is, August 22nd, one of our dispatchers, welcomed you maybe a little bit early. That's why I worked some weekends. Healthy baby girl.
You deliver that through 911?
No, he took a time off.
Took time off.
They did it in the right setting in the hospital. Had just a busy month and a lot of issues that were brought up that got resolved.
Without move to accept and file the RCC monthly report is presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
I,
Aye. Thank you, Bob. Morning, Michelle.
Good morning. You should have in front of you a copy of a victim witness advocate determination of suitability policy that we need to have signed. I had spoken to Josh. It's in reference to our victim witness advocate grant that we currently have to help offset the cost of our two VWAs. And we were audited, state audited us with Washington County in June. I attended that audit. And one of the things that came out of it was this policy that we need to implement on behalf of our VWAs. Basically, it's the background check when we hire them. Just an additional, we have to review this every 5 years. So Mr. Granger and I have talked about this and what we thought we would do in order to some of this with the sex offender registry and stuff, that we would have our detective do that background check. So it was a policy that we need to implement as part of the state requirements for the VWA grant. And after speaking with Josh, he thought it would be best to bring this to your attention and then make sure that you're okay with having Mr. Granger sign that instead of having one of you do it and not, and if we had to implement that into our policy for the county.
You said we don't have to implement it into our policies.
It's something that technically affects Hancock County employees, but it's only one it's only a position in the DA. So you could go either way with it, but really just so that you're aware of it, where it does affect Hancock County employees.
The BWA is a Hancock County employee, right?
Right.
I guess I'm a little, my issue is that it's not in format. It doesn't follow a format, you know.
Yeah, because this is the way the way the policy is written by the state, so.
We can format that to our policy standards.
Well, are you asking us to approve this format? Is that what you intended to do today?
I'm asking you, because I do need to have this per the state in order to stay in compliance with the BWA grant. And then, you know, have who signs off on this? Is it okay if Mr. Granger signs off on it, or does it have to come through the chair of the county commissioners?
With other counties, is it typical for the DA to sign, or is it usually?
It didn't, this was the way that the policy that was given to us
From
by
the
the
school.
state stated, it said signature of your district attorney, so.
Well, it's kind of unprecedented. We don't have any other policies. You okay with that, John?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah.
Sam? Okay, you have a motion?
I'm going to move to adopt the victim witness advocate determination suitability policy as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Just to confirm that it's okay for Mr. Granger to sign off on this policy, correct? Okay, thank you.
Wait. Agenda item. All night trying to come up with this unique 16-digit investment.
Yes, yeah. Thank you, commissioners, for the time, and apologize for doing that. But there are certain standards that we now have to meet. For those of you who joined us on the Maine County Commissioners Association meeting on July 30th, talked with a representative from Cal. They talked about in the meeting how the breaches that are happening. For instance, this week we have a report from TransUnion, the credit reporting people who actually do your credit reports for you. Breach over 4 million accounts have been released. In fact, it affected our state, and our Attorney General got notification from TransUnion about that. And last week we got a report from Farmers Insurance that over 1 million records are leaked. Unfortunately, that keeps pushing us further and further. Not only is the technical capabilities of computers and processes faster, which makes it harder on us, but this is the way they've been moving forward, and we have to move into a 16-character passphrase. Keep thinking about that. I hate all these freaking passwords. Very good passphrase for you to use. Unfortunately, that's where they're pushing us. That's where we have to go. This is also supported by the CGIS that the sheriff and jail have to follow, and also by NIST standards. They all support the move to this kind of a thing. But I'm hoping that I can do a trade-off for the pain that we're causing by making everybody do a 16-character password. That the implementation that we have from our MFA also has something in it called a password vault. So you have a vault that will hold passwords for everything else. So you log into the computer, you log into the vault, the master password, and it will fill everything else in for you. So that we don't have to remember 6,000 different passwords, it will do it for you. I'm hoping to get this done by by the end of January of next year, because there's still some things that I've got to work out. For instance, some of the web pages and things that we visit, I have to set them up beforehand so that I can push them out to everybody else who uses them. All right, the next point of attention that we have is purchasing. Part of the standards.
Excuse me, just a minute.
Yes, sir.
When you said next, are we moving on to B?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna move to approve the mandatory update to the password policy as presented.
I'll second that.
Is that sufficient?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And we probably should know that all four of these policies, we have audits every year, and these are policies that we have to pass our audits. So these are cybersecurity audit compliance things that we have to do.
The next issue?
All right, and purchasing, part of the standards that we have to follow inside of the NIST CSF, which is a big bunch of standards and regulations that we gotta follow. One of the things they do is identification. You have to identify what's on your network, what devices you own and what are you looking for, because each and every device becomes an avenue of attack. It's recently that a lot of memory and hard drives are put into printers. Nobody thinks about that, but that's where the bad guy can come in and store his attack on the hard drive of the printers, and they come in and attack the whole system. So it's important that as the technical support group, that we know each and every device that's on our network, who's coming in from the outside to get to it, so that we can keep track of it, and also make sure that it has the latest patches and updates, because even the firewall needs a patch and update, because they're attacking that too. So that's something that needs to happen. All IT purchases, whether it's software or hardware, needs to come through the IT office. That way, not only will we be able to get probably save some money by going through our people, but we'll have something that's homogeneous and works with everything else. And then also we'll have accountability for that item, and we'll know what it is. A lot of times we'll go on and we'll be looking around, who has this IP? We don't know what this MAC address is. So we have to go around and find out, what is this device? And once we find it, then we can make a record of it. A lot of times there are rogue devices, people coming in off the street, connecting into the Wi-Fi. We don't know what that is. A lot of times there are things that they're doing on their phones that ping and give us a record of something that appears not so nice. So we need to know what's on our network.
So I'm going to approve the mandatory review of all hardware and software acquisitions policy as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. As you might know, the workload in the IT department has not only doubled, but it's increased significantly. We've recently implemented a ticketing system. And just in the past 3 months, we've done nearly 300 tickets. We still have another 100 and whatever sitting there waiting because they're projects. This brings up an issue. When we have new people coming on board, we need to have time in order to get to this. There are projects that Chuck and I will be getting to, especially like the Hancock site, but that's not to get a lot of our time. If you need an account, we need to have 3 days. We need to know who this person is. We need to know what department you're going to go into, so that we take the time to build all the aspects of the account. It's not a simple build the account, put a password on it. You're gonna get them into email, you're gonna get them into network devices and shares that they gotta get to. Print it on, do all kinds of crazy stuff. It's much more involved now than it was in the past. And so we're asking that we get that head space so that we can get this done. Because a lot of times people are just coming to us either that day or Friday before Monday and say, this person's coming in. No, in a professional work environment, that doesn't happen. You gotta give us some lead time so that we can get it done.
All right, I'm going to approve the account creation request policy as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, the last one, the firewall review and update, that's mainly internally just to Chuck and I. That's just a policy to say that we are going to annually review the firewall policies to see who we're blocking, what we're blocking. Does it still need to be implemented? We see a lot of things that are inherited from the previous person who worked here that we need to go through. We need to weed some of those out because some of them just don't apply anymore. And so that's to keep us on our toes and to make sure that we're actively looking at stuff and keeping up to date.
All right, I'm going to approve the firewall review and update policy as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Is there one advertising? For a position?
Chuck, we talked about a new position for your department,
Yes, we did.
and I'd like to, knowing that you have some reserve funds for personal services, I'd like to see you start the process now to get somebody, and if it's possible, get him on board before January 1st.
Appreciate that.
What is your plan? You talked over part-time, full-time.
I talked with Josh about it and we decided that we should advertise for full-time. And, but if we end up getting part-time applicants, we'll also look at those as well and then weigh them against the full-time, but definitely advertise as full-time.
Okay, so do we have a job description?
Yes, Josh.
We
Josh
do,
and I worked
it's
with
one
him.
of my agenda.
Oh, that's your agenda item? Okay. So,
I still have I have a motion for advertising for the position, so we can do that.
yeah, I was looking.
All right, I'm gonna move to authorize advertising for the new tech support position.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
So that brings us to Josh. And we have your monthly report, Josh. Anything further to add?
No,
All right, I'm gonna move to accept and file the human resources monthly report as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, so the second item in front of you gentlemen is the leave policy change. That is, LD 55 was a law addressing the carryover of earned paid leave policy that Maine passed. And that comes into effect towards the end of this month, September 24th, I believe. And our policy change in front of you updates that carryover, which allows, basically what we have right now is use or lose 40 hours of leave each year. That after 120 days, employees have access to that. But if they don't use it by the end of the year, that leave goes away and then they just get a new 40 hours for the next year. So this allows them to carry over what they have not used for the previous year into the next calendar year.
What constitutes earned paid leave?
So for us, we have annual leave and we have EEP leave. So we technically do meet that requirement with our annual leave. The problem is our part-time workers do not get that annual leave, so they're just getting the EEP. So we would have to address this policy change, at least for the part-timers, so I thought it was appropriate just to pass it for all.
Part-time people accrue leave, earned paid time off?
They accrue EEP leave, so they accrue 1 hour for every 40 hours that they work.
To approve the change to 16. 16 leaves 5. Earned paid leave C. Carryover of the Hancock County personnel policy as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, and the next item, gentlemen, is bringing up the health insurance buyout amendment that was passed on August 19th. But I brought that back up again, really just to talk about the working spouse language and give the full commission a chance to weigh in on that. And hopefully we can keep that passed as is.
Wait. This is so friggin' confusing. Do you guys understand what this is about? Right now, policy is prohibits providing insurance to an employee's spouse who has insurance in their workplace, is that it?
Yes, so the working spouse rule that the commission had actually revised and adopted September 9th, 2008. Basically what that states is the county will not pay for health insurance for any spouse working for another employer if that employer provides coverage. So what we've essentially done is we mirrored the buyout policy to that language.
And that's what we're doing today.
Well, that's what was passed on August 19th.
What is it we're doing today? Are we changing that?
Well, what I'd like to do, sir, is talk about that employee spouse language and ensure that that is still the direction that you'd like to go. We don't have a change that needs to be made today. I just wanted to ensure that that's the language that you want to move forward with the buyout language. Because what I'm trying to do is match the buyout language to the.
And what does it match?
Well, what we did pass on August 19th was to allow the additional eligibility for the employee spouse buyout. So what that did was it enhanced the buyout to allow 35% of the cost of that employee spouse premium, so that they were essentially getting a larger proportion of that buyout.
But if we weren't providing insurance to the spouse in the first place, why would we give a buyout to that spouse?
Because if that spouse is not working, sir, they still qualify for the buyout.
Right.
Our language is passed right now, it just says working spouses.
Right. But if a working spouse has insurance covered by them, we don't cover them on our insurance by policy, correct?
That's correct.
So why would we give a buyout to the employee who has a spouse working and covered by insurance by their own employer? If we don't cover that, if we don't cover that person, we wouldn't, would we?
Well, that's technically not in conflict with the way the policy stands right now, as far as the employees with working spouses.
Buyouts are intended to, well, I don't know if it's intended, but one of the benefits of a buyout is that if we have an employee who has the ability to insure themselves, then we could give them 35% of that in cash. They would retain their own insurance and we would save on their cost of insurance. But in this case, we're talking about an employee's spouse who's not insured by the county. So why would we give that spouse, why would we give the employee a buyout for that spouse if we're not insuring?
You're saying that the insurance only covers employees.
No, if,
Not spouses.
no, the one it doesn't cover is an employee's spouse who is employed and has insurance through their own employer. Now, if we have an employee who has a spouse that's not covered by insurance, doesn't work, we will cover them under the family plan. But because the policy says that you have to have insurance before you get a buyout, we're not going to give employees blind buyouts. They're going to prove they got insurability. Because we don't want people running around without insurance just to get that cash value. But in this case, giving spouse who who isn't on our insurance a buyout, that doesn't make sense. I mean, that's so. I'm still not sure, Josh. Did we do something 17th in conflict with that philosophy?
No, we didn't, sir, and that's why I wanted to bring up the employee spouse legislation that was passed in
And
2000.
if we tell you today that we do not want a buyout, we do not want to provide a buyout to an employee's spouse that we do not insure, do we need to do anything?
I would then have to go back and revise that policy for you to sign next time. I will say, Commissioner, I think if we go down that road and the more stringent we become on the buyout, I think that's going to encourage more people to come back to our plan, which is actually more costly to the county than buyout is. So
I don't understand how this could be more stringent.
It's the exact same that we've done. We haven't offered buyouts to the spouses, so I'm trying to figure out how it can be more stringent.
Well, that's what we had changed on the 19th, because that was something that I wanted to adopt so that we could recognize the savings to the county for employees and spouses together not being on our policy. So that's saving the county roughly $26,000.
Well, again, I'm sure I'm missing something here, but I am not in favor of offering a buyout to an employee's spouse who is not insured by us, who is not, because that's adding to the cost of the health care benefits program, not reducing it. Buyouts were supposed to reduce them. So. Want to take any action on this, gentlemen?
This time. Back on 19. It was August 19th of this year, right?
17th.
It was the 19th.
I want to look at what happened.
Okay, I think we'll take this under advisement, Josh. Let's hold off for a couple of weeks and make sure we fully understand what we're talking about here.
Okay, and the last two items that I have there, gentlemen, are the new job descriptions for the cybersecurity position and the help desk support job description.
Chuck, you're okay with these?
Yes, I went
I
through.
take it you've been working in concert with Rob,
Yes, I have.
okay?
I'm going to approve the cybersecurity job descriptions presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to approve the help desk support job description as presented.
I'll second that.
What position is this? Is this the new one we just created?
That's the one we were just discussing about advertising for with Chuck.
This guy's a help desk tech support, that's his description.
That's the technical name for the position, yes.
And when I think help desk, I figured somebody calling in needed help.
Well, it's IT help desk / tech support.
It's tech support.
Okay, we're talking about another specialist coming in to help you do your job, right? We're not creating a 911 IT help desk or something. No. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
All set, Josh? Thank you. Madam Treasurer.
I'm going to move to accept and approve the monthly reports of warrants as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And this is the transfer that we're talking about.
Item B is the request from Andrew Sankey, to move, the funds from his, Fund 8 revenue account to the general fund reserve account for the EMA. I didn't know if there were rules on moving funds that needs to be approved before we can just go ahead and transfer those funds. So I wanted to be clear.
I'm going to move to approve the request from EMA Director Andrew Sankey to move $9,409.78 in training reimbursement funds from the EMA LEPC grant operations revenue account R80-100 to the EMA and kind reserve fund G1-3021-56 which currently has a balance of $110,388.74.
I'll second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, Andrew. Now, this next transfer, doesn't that need to be amended now?
Yes, I have the,
You have it
correct,
amended?
yes, I have the correct wording. It's just an extra sentence.
To approve the transfer of funds from SO radio reserve account for the down payment on the purchase of G-Tech in-car body cameras as approved at the August 19, 2025 Commissioners' regular meeting, and to cover the costs of the radio consultation invoice from Daryl Cardinal.
Crandall.
Brand.
That's it.
I'll second.
Discussion? I wasn't following that closely. Do we need to acknowledge that we're exceeding the reserve? It's gonna happen, but we don't need to acknowledge it.
No, I think signing the transfer sheet acknowledges.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you. Michael ACO.
Yes, first item, town of Blue Hill wants to come back into the fold again and join the ACO program. And basically, the MOU, they've already signed. I haven't signed if you will approve the agreement, so that's what you have before you. Same standard agreement, except presumably as you would in previous cases, you will prorate that $2,500 annual fee just for the remaining quarter.
I move to approve the town of Blue Hills 2025 ACO with Hancock County as presented.
I'll second that.
Did you get a copy of that?
There's a copy in the book, but I have the original for the signatures here and.
I didn't see a copy, yet, but nevertheless, we know what they will do. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Next item, the city of Ellsworth had reached out to me regarding our animal control officer program as well. And Sean Wiley and I have been going back and forth. I'm in the process of trying to amend or finish revising the MOU for the position, because that's really where some of this is going to come into place. But essentially, they're not looking to have the county provide full animal control officer services, which is good to know, because I think that would have been challenging for us at best. But what they'd like is some of the more routine tasks to be handled. So the kennel inspections and like a lost dog or things like that that need to be followed up on, the emergency calls, things of that nature that really they currently provide anyway, but would need some more of a immediate type of response. They would continue to provide those services, which is again good for us because we couldn't necessarily guarantee that immediate type of response in every instance. So I'm going to make those amendments, come back to you with a very similar agreement like we just approved for Blue Hill. But before we went down that route, since I have a chance, I wanted to get this on the agenda to make sure that the commission's okay with me continuing to pursue that, because it is a little bit of a variation from what we've done with every other town that we have. And obviously, this would be our first city that we've done anything with as well. So, but I want to make sure there's no objections. And then next meeting, hopefully I'll come back with both. I mean, you won't need to approve the MOA, but I'll have it so that you can see what's in it, and then the agreement as well, and any modifications that we need to work out with them. hope to have as well. And in the interim, I know there is an approval process that the city has to go through yet before the council as well, but, you know, if we get that done beforehand, I'll have a signed document, if not, we can have the discussion next meeting.
I think tailoring your MOU to the needs of the community is critical to keeping this, making this ACO program work, so I'm all in favor of that, of course.
And I hopefully will have something for you at the next meeting as well. Next item, we kind of briefly discussed this with the budget. This doesn't necessarily impact budget because the same amount that we have in here in the proposal right now is going to remain the same. But as you will see, and you have a copy of the letter that was sent to me, we have a difficulty that comes up in that when we set up these agreements and all that, we did give authority back to the town in certain cases to have responsibility for deciding when the ACO should be called or not called for certain circumstances, or again, tailoring that MOU. In this particular case, the one ACO that we have right now is part-time. That's the other fact that goes into this. It's hard to pay somebody part-time wages, part-time hours, and then expect that they're gonna be able to respond in the drop of a heartbeat at 24/7. And in the particular case that you have that's related to the letter, the animal control officer had to be out of town, it was unexpected, he had to respond to a family issue. And basically, we had notified the towns of that, and the RCC had been notified. And then in the past, what has happened is it fell back onto the select board or whoever was designated for the town to try to address those issues. In this particular case, the select board members did not want to respond to the particular complaint, and I'm not putting any criticism on their decision to do that. I understand the reasons why, because as they stated, they're not trained, they're not certified, they don't necessarily know what they're agreeing to or anything like that. So really, to me, there's only a couple different ways we can address this. And one, certainly, I don't think you want to entertain right away, but, you know, one thing, we hire a full-time ACO that sits around and only responds when he needs to be called. And I don't think that's probably going to be your priority. With a full-time, we can pretty much make it a little bit more clear that they're gonna have to be able to respond at a drop of a hat. And they wouldn't necessarily have to go get other type of employment to offset their income, because that would be hopefully something that would be agreed to. I don't know that we're there yet. If we actively start getting all the towns in cities in the county, maybe you have that discussion. So the fallback approach is basically trying to get another certified secondary, as it's indicated here, part-time ACO that when, or if the current primary ACO is unavailable, the RCC has a secondary number they can call, and that person can hopefully respond. If between the two of them they can't respond, I don't have an answer for you beyond us having perhaps an agreement with the sheriff's office to do certain emergency type of things, which at some point I'd like to sit down with the sheriff, maybe have that conversation, but obviously it's nothing that's on the table as an option right now. So, and even in terms of them, we set this program up originally so that it wouldn't burden the RCC or overburden the RCC communications, and it wouldn't be just defaulted given to the sheriff. So this is an attempt to try to address the situation that you had before you in the complaint letter that I've drafted the response, but I haven't legally sent it back to them. So hopefully, again, I don't know who's gonna take it, or if we're gonna have people, but we'd like to get the job description approved and then advertise it and see where we get done.
All right, I'm going to approve the secondary regional animal control officer job description as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 And then with the approval of that, I want to confirm that it's okay for us to advertise.
I'm going to authorize advertising for the second, for the new secondary regional animal control officer position.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay. We have a request on the fire chief and also was whatnot. Those that they're in need of a vehicle. Good morning, Scott. How are you?
Good morning, how are you?
Good, good. Why don't you give us an overall?
Sure.
You know.
So I'll do two things. Provide some supporting information. Number one, to introduce you to Chief Claire. Chief Claire is being brought on board to, you guys are familiar with the Firefighters Association District 1. It's all the communities that surround the city of Ellsworth. We're all one district, and we applied for a SAFER grant for recruitment and retention of volunteer firefighters. It has unfortunately taken me 2 years to find somebody who could fit that role to recruit volunteers into our system. Chief Claire has accepted this position. He's now going to be focusing the majority of his attention to the communities that surround the city of Ellsworth. Trenton, Maine, Hancock, Portland, Mariah, and Surrey was not a part of the original grant process. So Chief Claire, I wanted him to present him to you guys today, just so you had a face with who I was bringing on board to focus his attention on those communities. Ellsworth is a part of this. However, we understand, given the nature of the busyness of the city of Ellsworth, that volunteers, it's a really tough match for us as opposed to 10, 15 years ago, when we were all supported by volunteers. So what we're coming to today is we're asking if the county would be interested in donating a vehicle to the city of Ellsworth to allow Chief Leclerc to be able to go to all these different departments, go to the regional schools that feed HCTC, and help continue to build the volunteer system with those departments. So part of that with the school system is if we're trying to put a fire science program, EMS program into HCTC, so that we can start building younger volunteers into the system. As those of us age out, we have a feeder, which we don't have right now. Our philosophy is if we can get them at 17, 18 before they move out of the county, when they come back, they've got some knowledge that they can go back into the volunteer system, continue to contribute back to their communities. So that's the reason why I'm coming forward today is to see if the county would be interested in helping the city by donating a vehicle to allow Chief Leclerc to do those visits with all the departments and those schools.
So who's the recipient? Is it the city of Ellsworth or the Hancock County Fire?
So the city of Ellsworth is the primary recipient of the grant. We're the grant manager. The other communities are sub-recipients. So everything that they do for recruitment or retention, the purchasing of the gear, the physicals, they submit to the city of Ellsworth and we reimburse them. And then we submit for reimbursement from FEMA. So city of Ellsworth, in a roundabout way, is making sure that all those communities around us are being taken care of and they can fund these volunteers as they come through the door.
I just want to be sure that any contribution we made went to the recipient of the grant.
Yeah, which is why, I've never come before you guys before because I didn't want this to be the Ellsworth is the benefactor of this, that the focus is the other 6 communities that were awarded the grant. They're our primary focus.
Dakota, you want to be heard on this?
Yes. Yeah. So on speaking on that, as far as the vehicle, obviously there's no mystery where that vehicle would presumably come from. As you're aware, we do have a handful of vehicles that are part of a bid process, and so we have discussed it, and ultimately, kind of our thoughts of where we stand on it is we have a couple different thoughts of what are options. One is that obviously the vehicle or the sale of those vehicles, the funds from that go back to our vehicle line, as you're well aware. So any donation adversely affects, the funds that we would have available to purchase the vehicles. With that being said, obviously, with the reallocation of one of the vehicles to the ACO, again, we took a hit there in some respects, but again, understanding that, for lack of better words, being good neighbors. We are not opposed to, again, for lack of better words, being good neighbors to the Ellsworth Fire Department and understand that they are, assisting the other agencies throughout the community or the county. What we would propose and how to do that is whatever the commissioners would decide for a vehicle, we are not, pigeonholing it to an Explorer or a truck. But what we would ask is that the commissioners consider if the county as an entity would like to make that donation to the city of Ellsworth, the fire department, to make this happen, that we come up with a way to circumvent those funds that the sheriff's office would otherwise lose in our vehicle budget. So that it wouldn't be the sheriff's office necessarily taking a hit, but the county as a whole giving a donation to the city of Ellsworth and the surrounding communities. So what that process would look like is obviously can be discussed if you are open to that. My initial thought on that would be something to the effect of whether you decide to do an Explorer or a truck. Take those bids that we do receive, whatever that median average is for that vehicle, then those funds be reimbursed to our vehicle line. But however, wherever you decide to pull that money from, whether it be CBA or whatever fund you look at. But that's how we would propose so that it's equitable for everyone. And if you do choose to do this, the county can, be a participating partner in this, and it's not at a detriment to any of our revenues or department lines.
Thank you. I don't know if it's a little too far-fetched, but I'm wondering if there isn't a way that we could select the vehicle that's available and re-register that with the civilian plates and craft a simple lease agreement to the city for that vehicle for the term of your grant period, at which time we would get that vehicle back.
I'd be amenable to that.
I'm not sure if
Again,
that's too
ultimately it's theirs.
too many technicalities involved in
I
that.
mean, I would definitely have to check to see the nature of it. Insurability and all that alone might be an issue in terms of whether or not we could.
And if I may, if that's the proposal, we would not be opposed to that. The one, stipulation that we would like to see with that is if we would do a similar, like a lease agreement where we would retain that vehicle back at the end of the grant period, to then sell. Our position on that at that point is there is a Ford Explorer that we do have that is in much better condition than the other. We would propose to utilize the better of the Ford Explorers. There's currently not any operational issues with it. But the reason being there is that we would anticipate a lower sale for that Explorer in comparison to the other vehicles. And so there wouldn't be as much depreciation on that vehicle between now and when we get it back at the end of the grant period. So that, again, our budget line wouldn't see a significant hit.
I gotta remind you, Dakota, that the sheriff's department got $1.2 million worth of cruisers out of ARPA funds. It didn't come out of your department, didn't come out of your reserve accounts, didn't come out of your budget and whatnot. So losing a little bit of revenue from your reserve accounts and whatnot, I don't have a lot of heartburn over that. It helps a program like this, which I think is desperately needed. Somebody out there recruiting volunteers for the fire service. So anyways, that's where I stand. I'd like to look at this, Scott, if we can look into this with the idea that you would insure it yourself. That, and obviously maintain it. And,
So to a degree, I think that really what it comes down to is contractual language that we can come up with as part of that agreement. So, and
Seems to
just
me-
those would be the issues that we
seems to
have
me
to
that
try to
it can't be
handle.
that difficult if we just want to loan you a vehicle and you take care of the cost of that vehicle with including insurance. I mean, how difficult can that be? Can we,
Well, in a perfect world, it wouldn't be hard at all. I just hand them the keys and turn it over,
well,
but
with the near perfect.
I think the big
Let's
we just gotta, we just gotta check on it.
Let's take this under advisement for a couple of weeks and see if we can't craft something. What's your timeline, gentlemen? Chief, when do you start?
I've already
Oh,
started.
you've already started, so you.
I'm going to Mariahville tonight.
You hitchhike into Mariahville?
No, I mean,
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry for the delay, but I think if we could work this out, I think that would be, I think I'd like to see that, give that a chance to see if that would work.
I mean, as long as I know what you wanna do, we'll try to put something together.
It's as simple as that. We'll come back, we'll select the vehicle, and that vehicle will get re-licensed, re-registered as a civilian plate, and then given to you people under an agreement. And obviously, we want in there that you could, you cancel the agreement anytime, give it back.
Right, we just, again, one, we wanted to put this in front of you, but we want to make sure this is a cooperative thing that all of us that are involved in this are.
Scott, I'm gonna talk to Mike a little further with this, but it's gonna have some language in it that says when you return the vehicle, it's gonna have to be in decent shape. Now, if you blow the engine up, and we're talking about an $8,000-10,000, then we're not gonna expect it, just give it back.
Right.
If you know, if
It's not going to be a response vehicle. Zero, there's no response
Right.
identified.
I'm just
for that.
saying that when we'd like to see the vehicle maintained sufficiently and get it back in basically good working order within reason. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so I'd like to see that language in. Anything further, gentlemen?
No, sir, that's all I have.
Good. Chief, welcome to the area. I hope you're very successful. It's a much needed endeavor because everybody.
looking forward to the challenge, Commissioner.
Very good. So let's move on then to final critical reviews for the budget. That could be riveting testimony, Scott. You might want to stay and listen to that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
This will be probably our last opportunity to make any adjustments to the proposed 2026 budget that we're going to make to the Budget Advisory Committee. When do we have to turn this over to them, Michael?
So, latest is October 2nd, but the public hearing, based on the schedule we had, we're looking at the end of this month, so. I mean, essentially, the hope would be that, and we're gonna try to follow along with changes today, but the hope would be the next meeting, to put your final blessing on sending it to public hearing at the next commissioner meeting.
The next one?
But still give us enough time so we can do all the advertising and all that. So I mean, as long, the real goal today would be to get through the majority, or get through all of it really, and hopefully have a pretty substantial format to just kind of.
We could tell you today what we wanted to do, then you can tell us the process. Put it in.
When it comes together, yeah, and then we just might have to, make some final amendments to that.
You can copy it. So let's start right down through in order. EMA budget really is kind of a different situation with other budgets and whatnot, and in looking at that, I don't see any suggestion for anything different than what's been proposed. You gentlemen? You might want to glance at that. Sam, do you see anything? So I guess Michael and Monica proposal stands as presented today for the EMA. So let's move on to district attorney. Any suggestions for any remarks about the revenue for the DA's office? Moving on to expenditures. In professional services, Michelle and Bob, tell us again, or maybe we've already told us, but what's the part-time position we're looking at?
I've requested to add a part-time position based on 24 hours a week to help with the filing and taking care of making cases for us due to the amount of paperwork that we have coming in to our office. We just can't keep up with just even the filing alone. So we've had an employee we had a student this summer that came in 5 days a week. We didn't have to pay him, and we realized then how critical it was that we have a part-time person, because he was helping pull files for cases, filing for us, helping when the rest of the staff couldn't keep up with prosecutorial needs, they were helping out. So we would request that we add a part-time position for 24 hours a week with no benefits.
What is the hourly rate?
It's based off what the current wage scale is, which was 6A, I believe, was the wage scale. Sorry, I cannot quote that for you.
That's all right. That's all I need really to know about the system. Tell us exactly what work isn't getting done because without this position. That is really the key factor. That there's got to be a real need for this, because there are tasks in your office, mandatory tasks that can't get done. So
For the position, you mean? What?
for this part-time position.
Just as I stated, like right now over there, I just went through it this morning. We have a stack of paperwork, at least that thick right now, that needs to be filed the way they're coming in from the court system, from defense attorneys, and also from our prosecutors that need to be put into the hard files. And there's just not enough time in the day for my staff right now to even keep up with their day-to-day duties. So having that extra clerical part-time position in there to help offset some of those, just the amount of paperwork that's being generated every single day in our office to help with keeping up with the files. And as it was last night, I had staff there until after 4 o'clock just trying to get files pulled for today for court, because court lists every day change hourly, it seems like. So just those added tasks that are just piling up every day on the employees there, just to try to help them keep up. Also, we just had a big appeals case, and that student that we had in here this summer. He helped with, helping with all of the briefs for all of that, that required days of research and compiling, and then we had to bind the reports and get those sent to Portland. So it's those day-to-day little minuscule tasks that would take to pull someone away from their desk to help do that stuff, just compounds on what the amount of work that they're currently dealing with.
Is the summer intern? Like, how was that developed, or like I guess I'm kind of wondering, like, who's paying? Is there no pay for that summer intern, or is it just that it's not coming out of the district attorney?
So the intern that we had here this summer didn't qualify for the way that this program was developed into the budget system. So this student that was here this summer worked for free, 5 days a week, 8 hours, 8+ hours a day for free. So, and he just went to Washington DC to work. So the program though was developed.
Ideally, it's for second year of lawsuit who can actually try cases. But we didn't have any applicants this year.
Well, you have the request, gentlemen.
So essentially, the intern, or that part-time position, sorry, is about half of the budget increase. Does that sound right?
Half of the budget increase.
That's 25,000 for that, and you're,
And then the salaries are based on the,
Like, I just meant versus.
Dollar wise.
I mean, just the personal service.
Choice. So, I see.
Bottom line increase in their budget from last year is around 50,000, so that's what I'm saying, is that adding the part-time position is about half of that.
Half of that
Oh, I see.
increase.
Okay, I want to come back to that before we leave you back, okay? So move ahead with some other, I'm gonna call them suggestions, but it's only really it's inquiry. I'll get down through my list, and gentlemen, you can jump in there anytime you want. 07500 dues and subscriptions. When I looked at what you had spent either this year and so on, it of only $1,700. I'm thinking that dues and subscription, we could reduce to 2,500 and still have sufficient funds for those. Any reason we can't?
those, I have, some of those are invoices that won't come until November and December. I have just had to pay, you haven't even, it hasn't reflect on the next credit card statement. I have $1,200 just in bar dues, annual bar dues for the prosecutors that are, that will be paid. And then we also have subscriptions that will be due for the end of the, we don't get charged for them until November and December.
So you're gonna need all, what, 3,200? You said you
What
had
did we
1,200 on top of what you've already spent?
Mhm.
Was 2,900, so we're not gonna see any savings there. postage, how do you guys pay your postage? Will you donate some money to the machine down there? occasionally?
Jamie just gave me the dollar amount yesterday of where we're at.
So you've only contributed in 8 months, $500.
Yeah, and I'm going to put another $500 on it, and that should get me through the rest of the year.
So I'm thinking we can reduce your ask for next year, 25 to 1,500. Gentlemen?
That's good.
I'm gonna reduce that. Public safety.
I will have obviously we'll be purchasing ammo for that, out of that money this year. And we have just a few small items that he needs to purchase for this year, to finish up this year.
Qualifications is just about the shelves. So that you found $1,000 would be pretty much what you needed this year. Can we reduce that to 14?
Sure.
Printing? Why do we change printing for anything?
Printing would be for having to send out things like photos for enlargement for court cases or appeals. I was able to do it in-house, the appeals. We just did it with the help of Deeds. I was able to get all the appeals dockets printed in-house and binded. And then
Okay, so you spent $51 in 8 months, so I mean, you're gonna be able to get by with 500 for the whole year next year. Okay,
sure.
transcripts, you haven't spent anything this year. I'm suggesting we reduce that by another 1,000 to 500.
Okay.
And that, last one is that we reduce the vehicle reserve account to 8,000. That's my suggestion. Okay, gentlemen? That's a reduction in what we had, but at some point, we have to acknowledge the fact that we can get 150,000 miles out of these vehicles, and to trade them in at 100,000 and whatnot, we're not getting the value of the vehicle. And the DA's office is a good example of non-emergency vehicles, you know. All right, we're gonna reduce that to 8,000. Michelle, I'd like to have you look down through there and save some more if you want that kind of position.
Commissioner, I have no fluff. The only fluff I put in there was based on the direction of the county administrator for insurance. And that was because we found out that the deductible for the county had gone up from $1,000. That's really the only place that I put any fluff in there.
Well, that's not fluff if you need it, which you already-
Exactly.
which you already did this year, so.
Exactly.
To be clear, that's not fluff.
So.
One more deer jumping in front of his truck is gonna take care of that.
Exactly. So.
On the software, computer software line, I'm just kind of 30-320s. I guess I'm just trying to figure out the 56,000.
Chuck, 56,000 with the DA's
He
office.
wouldn't- he
As long as
doesn't-
Jeff
he-
Ware,
No, he does not pay for
No,
that. That's
that's
nothing
all
to do
Jeff
with
Ware
Chuck.
and-
Nope.
whatever.
That's all stuff that we have to do through MEDATs and all the software programs that we have through our IT with the state. So, right now, we have spent $19,709, and I'll get another quarterly statement more towards the end of, I'll get another statement, they do half year, so I'll have another statement, towards the end of, mid-December. So, I mean, I could shave, I mean, it looks like I spent last year 36
I don't have a
36,000.
8-month thing in
That's
front of me.
like 5 years.
I couldn't print that. Do you have that in front of you?
Yeah.
We know it's, we have a, yeah. We have an up-to-date.
Maybe if it was 40,000.
I was just gonna say, how about 40?
40 sounds good.
We're gonna reduce
30-20, 320, 40.
30-320 to 46 grand.
6 or 8.
Reduce it by 16.
By what?
Reduce it by 16 to 40, I think is what he was suggesting.
We're getting closer there.
Yeah,
I say that's great.
through the end of August, she mentioned 19,000, and that is what the expenditure was in that.
But you've got another quarterly
Yeah,
for the end of the year,
another half year.
another half year. So that's another 19.
So it's
Basically reduces their increase to just about the cost of the part-time person now. A little bit more than that.
So we make the changes we suggested.
Other than we're not changing dues and subscriptions.
No.
We're changing postage to 1,500, we're changing public safety to 1,400. Printing 500, transcripts 500, the vehicle reserves to 8,000. And the computer software to 40,000.
how's the comp buyout used in the DA's office?
So, anything above 40 hours a week, they can earn comp time. So, and then they can, obviously, if they bank up to 100 hours, they can sell it. On the offhand, we have such a young staff that they don't have any really, they either haven't built up any vacation time yet because they haven't been here long enough, or they have so little vacation time that they are not selling it because, in order to take a day off, they need that comp time.
Right. Yeah, it needs to be comp time.
No, and I don't expect to this year. I mean, we could probably reduce that to $2,500 for next year.
Let's go to 2,500. Is that all right with you guys?
So with those changes, what do you have for a,
One moment, please.
department total?
our total would be 720,976
With or without the new part-time position?
with,
So that's like 26,000 less than.
Yep.
Okay, that's the way I'd like to see this go today. Give one new position, they pay for it. So we're gonna approve the new position, gentlemen?
Yep.
Yep, okay. Michelle, anything, call anything more with your budget?
Nothing left. We can find another one of those free interns.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Find a couple of those.
So moving on to the commission budget. The reserve account. That reserve account, 311-06, professional. That's not earmarked for anything, it's just a reserve.
It's the way that I understand it in the past, yeah. I honestly don't necessarily realistically know why we keep putting it in there, but
Well, I'm talking about the reserves, and I'd like to see us take, $10,000 out of that account.
How much is that?
68,000, over 68,000. See that. I'd like, that's a, we haven't got a year back or anything. I'm not quite sure what we even got it in there for, what it's
We
for.
have that.
Certainly isn't. It's a real catch-all. And I think it could be a way to get this budget under control. We could grab 10 grand from that.
Where,
Pardon?
you wanna take 10,000 out of the.
Yeah, in other words, I wanna add 10,000 to the reserve account, which means we're going to take 10,000 out of the. This transfer we're talking about is coming out of the reserve account, the G account. I want to take 10 grand out of the G account so that this revenue account is 10,000.
10 instead of 4.
Right.
Okay.
Well, that's what I want.
Fine with it.
You fine with that? Okay, we're gonna take 10.
all right, so let me just backtrack, make sure. So we're talking about the revenues, 900 reserve transfers. The money that's already in here, that 68 is already in the reserve account from a budgetary standpoint. You're saying in 2026, you want to pull that out and just put it into that account, but it's not really going towards anything, correct?
It's not dedicated to anything in it. No, it's just offsets the amount
Part of
raised by
that.
taxation.
Okay, I just want to be 100% sure that I understood.
Okay.
So that one will now be basically 10,000 when it's
It'll
all.
be 14,000.
Yeah, that's the other, second question, because you're taking 10 out and there's already 4.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm not, I'll take 14 if you want, but my suggestion was we make that 10.
So the total would be 10, so
Total.
basically 6,000 plus or minus.
You want to take any more than that?
Do 2,000.
All right, we're gonna take 10,000. Okay, we're taking 10,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the total 14.
Oh, we're gonna have 14 total?
For that line.
Yeah.
So you're gonna take an additional 10,000.
So 1,000 will take it. We'll have 14,000.
14, okay. Well, the 4 came from the same account. So that'll reduce that to 54,000. Okay? And with regards to the expenditure, gentlemen, I have no recommendation or suggestion. Nope. Moving on. I have no suggestion on the revenue side or the expenditure of the treasurer's office. Recommend everything.
I just want to note that the additional cost of the new software will be made up in January, but then the following in subsequent years, that number should start dropping with the additional year's costs of the software going down.
Am you okay with that?
Yeah.
Maintenance. We'll see if we get some number before we finalize this in December, Dennis, on court lease. Maybe we could come up with
Let's hope.
some resolution for them. Anything else with the nothing on revenue, anything on part-time EOC, Dennis?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
That is a position that we hope to share with the airport. They would fund the other portion of this person's pay and benefits, and we would contribute 20, and they would work their time with the retirement of Richard Gray at the airport, and then Todd moving into the supervisor's position, that's presumably, then they're have known to do the housekeeping there, and the other, they're having very little success in finding a way to fill that gap. And we've done it in the past and sent someone out there and then back. But Leroy asked me if I would consider sharing a position with him to fulfill our needs at the EOC and his needs at the airport, which I agreed to. In the interim, we have special projects and many uses for an extra pair of hands until we say next spring, summer, when the EOC is up and running full. Especially if we've got the EMA director moving out to the log cabin sometime between, say, Thanksgiving and Christmas to support Chuck's expansion, then we're gonna need to be sending someone out there as soon as that happens for daily housekeeping.
Is the one half for the airport, is that a new position for him too?
It is.
Think we've seen anything yet on the airport. It's a little early.
The budget? Well, we've said several times over the last couple of years that EOC was going to involve additional staff. And
Dennis, do you think the grounds, yard and grounds numbers had any flexibility? I know you added the 2,500 for the Hancock site. I'm just kind of curious because
We'll know more and end of next week when the snow removal bids come in.
so that's where the snow removal comes out of that line.
It does, yeah. And typically we have split that with the jail, but to ease their same constraints.
well, is that other $1,250 somewhere else. It said it's a $2,500 increase, it's only $1,250 showing in the budget, your budget. $1,250 somewhere else. I'm looking at 12,500 this year. Next year you want 13,125. It's not even 12, but it says it's 25 added to the.
Well, the 2,500 is a wrong figure then.
It's 13,125, the figure you want.
Is what I want. I want a 5% increase, yes.
So the 2,500 is erroneous, right?
Yeah, that's my
Okay.
mistake.
All right, so 13,125 is the number.
So it's basically a $1,000 increase, a little under. I think actually, Commissioner, I put it in initially at a $2,500 increase, and then realized that throughout this season, I probably wouldn't be doing too much snow removal at the Hancock site. So that's, I backed it out and figured we put it in for next year. As you recall, I intended to even advertise for our current services at the county to include the Hancock site, but realized it probably would not be necessary. Anything that was immediate or needed, we could do on a as needed basis through. I plow it myself if I have to. We'll take care of it.
Okay. So we're gonna leave the half-time position in there, gentlemen? Yeah. Okay. Now, the last one is a big pill to swallow, but we've talked about this before. We need to start putting money away for the expense of renovating the courthouse once the court system leaves. And we're going to need $1 million wouldn't cover it.
Well, yeah, that's what our starting point was $1 million.
So I'm suggesting that we're gonna have to put in the $250,000 appropriation in the reserve account, this line to put in the G account at the end of the year.
That's in Department 30,
What is?
the 250,000
What's 30?
reserves.
Zero reserves.
Oh,
For the
thank you very
maintenance.
much.
Yep,
Yeah,
it's already,
okay.
already in.
Already in there, good, all right.
So it's not part of his,
And so we're anticipating a spring of 28 move out. And I assume that that's when we make whatever space changes are easy and then begin our planning or implement what we've come up with for a plan that we devise over the next few years to make that transition.
Okay. Anything else with maintenance, folks?
How much more money you can spend on water?
That was due to the meter change at the jail. They discovered that they had been under counting our water supply up there since it began. And overnight, our bill went from $1,000 a year, Tim, to
20 what?
$20,000.
What?
Yeah.
Are they trying to get all that money back for the last 30 years?
I've fought with them up and down and sideways regarding, they're saying that we use 2 million gallons of water a quarter. And I'm saying something's wrong. And they're saying, no, it isn't. We got so many showers, whatever. But other than us metering it separately, we have no challenge.
We'll have it come back, we questioned it, they come back and
Yeah, they said,
monitor it again and found that that's accurate.
they see it's accurate, yeah.
Well, they might not have a meter separate for the jail, we're gonna need it for the county.
Yes, and we have a separate room for the jail over here. That's the one they changed from analog to digital and realized they were off by a factor of 5 or 10, something like that. And it's, again, every time I see it, I see red and call them up.
You have the same concern we had. We had this conversation several times, trying to figure out why. But like you said, we have no leg to stand on. We don't have our own meter to meter. Yeah.
So it's just unrealistic. Somebody should have noticed.
Insane, I agree.
Somebody should have noticed.
We're being
this
held
person
hostage.
that big was only charging 5% what the bill should be. That's been going on now for 30 years,
So they say.
25 years.
That's what they say. I remain skeptical.
This is after we put in new shower heads and everything.
Well, our use is reduced a bit, but expected, you know, in proportion to the amount that we pay. But it's the volume of water, 54,000 cubic feet a quarter. It's crazy amounts of water, 7.4 gallons per square foot.
And
Some of it drips right down here.
and the maintenance and building line, the 2030, just so we've got $50,000 in there. And I get that it's gonna includes the jail, courthouse, and Hancock site. So right now you've expended 11,541. So just kind of wondering.
That's extreme frugality at this point. I went into this year wondering, that budget determines what we're able to do for local improvements. So I have flooring projects and painting projects I'd like to begin, but I had such a fear of running this thing, you know, we're basically steering into the unknown these last couple of years, and so I've been pretty frugal, and we've been self-performing a lot of the work that we typically would hire out, so it's I don't dare to reduce it, but
Oh, we increased it by 10 grand because of the Hancock site.
yeah, yes.
And do you foresee that you're gonna have much come out of that account next year for Hancock site?
I do. Barring at some point, the community benefits that we've allocated are gonna be exhausted. And we have plans in our storage building, building D, that are going to exceed that figure easily. And so we'll try to do that incrementally. But what the beauty of that is, when we're done, we've got a storage facility that, so first of all, something that we've never even come close to having, and it will be something that will serve our needs for many years, decades, I hope to come.
In the heat and air conditioning line of that same maintenance and repair, we're up to 36,000 there. We've expended 4,600.
Yes, we've got expenses that are going to be associated with the log cabin, the new EOC, and also we're gonna start heating building C in the fall.
Is that coming out of here though?
The equipment is going to come out of there.
Equipment's gonna come out of there.
The fuel will come out of the fuel line.
Right now, do you have, like in the new building, the buildings out there?
There's a couple of unit heaters that are
I assume you're gonna put in,
heat pumps
heat pumps.
wherever appropriate, yes.
All right, as long as you think it's right, I just.
Yeah, no,
It's
it's
a large number.
expanding.
We had expended.
Well, also, that's not all the building expenses. The jail also has 35,000 for building. That's also an issue.
Gotcha.
All right, I guess that's it.
As of the end of August, we had spent out of that heating and air conditioning line. I can, for the next round, I will update the year-to-date actuals, so you can,
How much was he at?
as of the end of August on heating and air conditioning, 23,190. He's spending it.
Spent $19,000 since then?
Yeah, we had the 2 heat pumps installed.
All right.
How long is 10,000 a piece?
20-350.
Oh, yeah.
Units,
23.
4 heads.
All right. All set with that?
Yeah.
Moving on to RCC. Bob? Anything, gentlemen, with regards to revenues?
Do have a thing for revenue.
We got,
You asked me to, after July 1st, to bump it to 6%, so I actually, calculated extra $2,800 for revenue.
we're adding how much?
2,800. If we're gonna move forward with the adding another 3% in July.
What was your number again?
So it's gonna be, the total number is gonna be 192, 944, 92. So we'll have 3% first,
192,
944.
944,
We don't do six.
we just call it 945.
945. If you still want to move forward.
Anything else with regards to revenues? Hearing none, let's move on to expenditures. Part-time, Bob.
Yeah, I think we can drop that a little bit. My one part-time is available, it's been pretty short.
So it's, you asked for 10, I'd like to see it 5.
Yeah, I was
All
gonna
right,
suggest
I'll make
that.
part-time 5. In your training account,
Yeah, I think we can drop that a little bit as well.
I'd like to have 1,500.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I don't have big influx. Pretty good shape.
it is what it is.
It is what it
Whatever
is.
it's gonna be. Uniforms, I'd like to drop that to 1,000, Bob.
Okay.
Equipment repair, we only spent $128 at.
So far, I just had we just had go to Cadillac for the tower repeaters not under any service contract, and we had a couple of emergency call outs for repair, so at the emergency, I don't know sure how much it's gonna be yet. I believe out there, that's always for our stuff that's not covered under service contracts.
You don't dare to reduce that any?
Uh,
Is that what you're
I
saying?
don't, but if you wanted, I could probably go 1,000. If we overspend that, we overspend it. Okay, with that.
We budget,
I think it's 4.
It's at 4.
so reduce that to 3.
Yeah. Comfortable with that.
Legal fees. What, do you have legal fees there?
We haven't really, and I was gonna ask that a while back, but it seems like we've taken that out of everybody else's accounts that falls under the counties. I'm
We
okay
have,
with taking that out.
the commissioners have a legal account for
Yeah.
all departments, so.
Yeah, I think that should go away.
Okay, so we're gonna remove legal fees altogether. And what is this 30 dash service contract? Service contract. 150.
So under equipment. So,
Well, it's 3150
Contractual
contractual services.
30-150.
That's all of our service contracts, our radios, our tower rentals, all of our,
Well, if you added that up, is that, you know what those are gonna be for 26?
that's, yeah, I took some of it off because we had, 2 of the purchases that we did, I actually realized that we had, with those, we bought those through ARPA fund. And we actually had 3 years of service contracts included in those, and I actually added those last year because I didn't realize we had 3 years worth. So I brought that down. Took those. So,
Yeah, but are those service contracts a known figure today for next year?
no, 'cause they usually go up. It's the
You would
16th, so
not know.
I won't know until they bill me.
That could be next year.
Oh, yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay. All right, there's nothing we can do then. Gentlemen, anything else in RCC? Good take a break. So I know you've been patient, but I gotta take a 5-minute break. All right, let's take a break. Careful, folks. Record is not.
Tax rate before.
Then we just.
Yep. I'm keeping track. Uh, 200 on dues and subscriptions is okay.
Okay.
And then 2,500 is changed to 1,500. 400 is 1,400. Printing is down to 500. Trade services is down to 500. And your software is 40,000.
Sanity sign. Just ready. Yeah. Where you gonna go to get that? I'll do it on.
No, yeah.
You gotta go. Yeah, no, we can't.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be updating.
Yeah.
And the revenues, I don't have the revenue.
Okay.
I don't.
Wow.
Calculation of expenditures, I haven't done a calculation page, so that's not right in.
And it's really bigger truck. Yeah. I guess. Why not? Yeah. I thought so.
Okay, we're gonna continue on. Juliet.
Hello. Good morning. I did have a slight revision to the probate expense.
No changes to revenue though.
Excuse me?
We should start usually with the revenue side, so we just want to.
No change to the revenue.
Gentlemen, any suggestions for changes to the revenue?
Guess nobody's getting copies anymore, huh?
Not like
Not like they used to.
people are making their own. I think my only comment about revenue is that in probate, it's really whatever comes our way. And we have no control over deaths, guardianships, name changes. It just sort of reflects the natural ebb and flow of life.
Well, that's it, we know the balance. Where's the reserve coming from, the $500? She's showing a $900, $500 reserve revenue in her budget. Where's it
I
coming
would have to
from?
look back 5 years and see what that's 5 years.
Yeah, but it must be coming out of a reserve account somewhere.
I'd have to look it up.
Do you have a, well, do you have a G account?
I don't think so. I think we got it.
Well,
Um,
you have equipment and copier.
That's right, she has a copier reserve with $5,000 in it and an equipment reserve with 3,500.
So what she's doing is pulling some of that out.
That was in the last 5 years, that's not current.
Here's on there on the 5-year average.
There's nothing current.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I see.
Right.
Anything more with reserve, so moving on to expenditures. Now, Juliet's asking for another 5 hours for a part-time person. Has anybody computed that?
A chance, but I can really quickly.
No. How do you work your part-time person? How many hours a day? And it's just random or what?
No, we have a schedule and it's based around our court days and also to cover any planned employee absence.
So does she work odd number of hours per day? Some days she only works.
No, she'll work a set number of hours, but it's less than a full day. Because originally 20 hours is somewhat of an odd amount. In general,
Well, that's what I'm asking. How about if we figure on 3 8-hour days? and
oh, so 24?
We add 4 hours. How about that?
What was it calculated for previously?
20.
We're gonna add 4 hours, make it 3 8-hour days.
And that makes about a $4,100 change.
With 5 or 4?
24,
With 24?
yes.
Sam, you okay with that? And if we're gonna add 4 hours, so we're gonna add 4 hours, so that makes it 24 what?
24,985,
Because that's gonna change your
yes.
employee cost, but
Yes.
insignificant. We'll figure that. Juliet, the only issue I was looking at was your travel.
Yes,
I'd like to reduce that to 35.
I'm open to that.
Okay, well, gentlemen, line 7-100 is 35. That's the only suggestion I have. Any others? Okay? Sam, you okay? Moving on to deeds. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you.
Moving on to deeds, I talked to Julie, and she's agreeable to increasing 101 transfer tax from 260 to 270,000.
We changed to
270,000, she's adding. Adding $10,000 to 101 revenue. And the other one I had, but she really doesn't want to do it, is the travel. She said she has some travel plans for next year. She's going to need a full 25. Despite the fact she hasn't used any this year. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to sheriff then. Looking at the revenues, I have no suggestions to changes. And if you have none, just move on to expenses. I think the first issue we need to get settled on, because it affects other lines and whatnot, is these extra 2 deputies that has been funded this year, didn't get filled. It's in the budget again next year. And I guess goes without saying that I'm adamantly opposed to this increase in the staffing. The Sheriff's Department has talked about increase in calls. But I think if you look at that very closely, whatnot, you're gonna see that some of that is artificially inflated. They're putting numbers to calls now for work they've always been doing. They're generating calls just to increase the numbers. And I don't think that in itself is the sufficient reason for increasing the staffing. I think there are 2 critical factors in that you should consider. First one is that their calls are all getting answered. Nobody's going without getting their calls answered. Second one is that they imposed a 30 call minimum, 30 contact minimum on each deputy. And for a month, and I'm saying if they were so desperate for additional help, why would they feel the need to impose a minimum number of calls on a deputy that they should have been realizing that if they are so swamped and need my help, that they're doing all they can. So I'm adamantly opposed to adding this. On top of that, I'm not even sure if those two people are out there. And they had 3 deputies in January from the regular staffing. And one of those still hasn't been filled. Here we are into September. And I'm not sure if you gave them that money again, that they could even find more bodies for it. But I think the underlying issue is that they failed to support the need for having it.
So, in response to that, obviously, and I'm not gonna recite it all, we've gone over our position. The cookie cutter answer, or the quick and dirty here, is that our responsibility changed in staffing. Our responsibility as far as coverage changed, and we advocated for our staffing to change accordingly. It wasn't that we asked for additional staffing without our responsibilities changing. And in addition to that, we believe that we have provided adequate information to justify those positions. It is funded in 2025's budget, as you are well aware. We are not asking for additional positions beyond that. We feel that those positions that are budgeted currently are able to staff us adequately. We are looking to maintain those positions and be able to utilize those positions. The other thing that, I would say is that in respects to being able to fill those positions, we have an interview scheduled tomorrow with an individual from another county that is a blue pin. We also have an individual that we've been sponsoring through the part-time certification. And if allowed to utilize those positions, you would be seeing that individual's name in front of you here. He completes the part-time certification here at the end of the month. So you'd be seeing it in front of you in the next 6 weeks or so. So with that being said, I would anticipate very likely that we would be able to present 2 names for hire to you in the next 6 weeks. One of them already being certified, and one that is a local younger individual that's looking to get into law enforcement that we would be extending that opportunity to. So we believe those positions are justified. They are in the budget currently. We're looking to maintain those. We're not looking for any additional positions above and beyond what we already have.
So I want to make sure I understand. So we have the 2 positions you did got budgeted. Filled. But then is there one other position that we still haven't filled from somebody retiring?
We do, yes. So we would, if able to utilize those positions, I would anticipate one of those 2 positions being filled in the next month and a half or so.
When you use the crystal ball to look at next year, do you know of anybody retiring or any of those plans? I'm just kind of curious, who's seeing the future for?
Yeah, so I don't anticipate any retirements next year. With that being said, I mean, obviously, when it comes to looking at hiring individuals or the ability to hire those additional positions, which Commissioner Clark just referenced, one of the things that we face is a challenge when it comes to hiring individuals currently is the current climate that we're in, the sense that, will these positions be able to be filled? Will they not be able to be filled? And the reason I say that that's a challenge for us is when you're trying to speak to somebody that is a certified individual for law enforcement, right, wrong, or indifferent, agencies, if somebody expresses that they are looking to leave, again, right, wrong, or indifferent, and it doesn't pan out, sometimes they get blackballed, and nobody wants to take that risk associated with that for me to come here in front of you and present that name for hire, only then for it not to be, obviously pushed through. Which again is another reason why a couple weeks ago, without bringing you specific names, we came to spearhead that conversation so that we know where we stand, because it's a lot easier for us to hire in that sense. So to answer your question again, no, I don't anticipate any retirements. I do anticipate we'll be able to fill these positions, but it also require, you know, the support in a sense from the commissioners saying, yes, you'll be able to hire those, because it's hard for us it's a challenge for us to go out and get somebody with that risk, not knowing whether or not it's gonna be supported.
I mean, here we get 9 months, 8 months, haven't counted anybody, and then all of a sudden, just budget time, oh yeah, now we've got people that, we don't wanna hire, where the hell we been for? The issue is not whether or not they're out there available, the issue is whether or not they need them. And first of all, they have the ability to manage their staff, to take care of their complaints that they're getting now. For example, they have 2 positions paid for out of the airport, full paid, cruises, equipment, salaries, benefits, and everything. Well, they have a deputy, 1 deputy assigned to the airport, and they have the ability, if they would manage it correctly, to take that 1 deputy and work him in the off-season on a schedule that's 6 days on, 4 days off, 9 hours a day, would handle all the flights during the off-season, except for 3 out of 9 days. Instead, they give him a 12 on, 12 off schedule, so he's got working 12 hours with only 3 flights a day. He's 30 minutes for each flight and whatnot. So now they've got to fill 4 days every 8 instead of 3 every 9. On top of that, they have an SRO officer now in Dedham who is off for the summer. Great opportunity to transfer her right to the airport to work on the off days down there. Now they've got a deputy there that they can fully assign to law enforcement. So there's a number of ways that they could manage their people and meet this demand. But the bottom line is that the 2 glaring factors is that unlike Chuck, who sat there and said, I've got 100 open tickets I can't get filled. The sheriff's department cannot say that I've got 100 complaints a week that don't get answered. They answer all the complaints. So the bottom line is that they fail to justify that they absolutely need these positions. You know, they talk about this new mandate or this new requirements and whatnot. And they keep referring back to the state police pulling back in their SWAT assignments. Well, before, when the state police took half the slots, they had 50% of the calls, the state police had 50. They went from 3 slots, the state police said, we're only gonna take 1 slot. So now they went from 50% down to handling 66%. That's only a 16% increase in the calls. I mean, they make it sound like it's so dramatic. This is loss of help within the state police. It's 16% of the call. And, you know, I'm not saying that's insignificant. What I'm saying it's not that, you know, that traumatic experience that people get when they say, oh, gee, the state police isn't helping anymore. That's not true. I'm saying that their budget is up $500,000 this year, even though this money was in this year's budget, is still up $500,000. And we need to get this, that's 18% increase. We need to get these budgets down so that acceptable level of increase. And here is a perfect way to do it without affecting the ability of the department to provide the service.
So, and I'll just conclude with this, is that, you know, Commissioner Clark's position of the calls being answered, it's the same as IT. May not be answered today, but they're being answered. I'll say that we'll always respond to calls for service. We'll always answer calls. May it be the most effective, may it be the quickest? No, that's the reality. But that's the same reality with IT, the same reality with filing paperwork with the DA's office. That is the reality. Now, with it being, you know, to go back to state police, Commissioner Clark's own, you know, statement of, well, he is correct. The state police was handling 50% of calls for service in the county. They then went down to 33%, 16%. His own words, while that may not be insignificant, we're not looking to go above and beyond that. We never were. We're looking to mirror our responsibilities. We took on 16% more responsibilities, and we're looking for our staffing to match them. That's all we're looking to do. Match the workload that we took on. And that's what we have in this budget. Once again, we're not looking for additional positions. We want to maintain the positions that we currently have. The last thing is that when you talk about the percent increase in the Department 10 budget, Commissioner Clark is correct, obviously. It does come to 17.8%. One thing that I would like to mention though is that the other thing that you do have to consider in that is obviously the, what you guys had decided earlier today, as far as where you were utilizing those funds for that upfront cost for the cruiser cameras, and then Daryl Crandall's expenditures as well. That increased the budget 1.2% as well, so that alone increased it. Prior to that, it was at 16. So I'm not saying 16 is insignificant at all either. I'm just saying that is part of that increase. The other thing that I would mention is that this increase that you have before you today is in part, obviously, a large portion of that is wages. Now, one thing that I would mention is that as far as trying to come up with a realistic budget with the prior voice that the non-union employees doing a placeholder of 7.5%. That is also what I did for the union employees here because they do have negotiations coming up. So rather than already being in the red, there is a 7.5% increase here factored as far as the wages go for the union employees. So that could vary depending on you as the commissioners, whatever you negotiate with the union as well. So that is factored in here additionally. But once again, I would echo, sure, the calls for service are being answered. It's the same as the other departments that you've heard from. The 16% additional workload, those additional positions match that. We're not looking for anything more. We're not looking for additional positions over last year's budget. We're just looking to stay status quo.
Okay,
So, the only thing I wanted to say about it is, I mean, my position really hasn't changed. To me, I wanted to compromise at the end of the budget cycle last year to have one new officer, and I still stand by that position of having one new officer. And it's fine, I understand. So it's kind of like it locked.
and compromising is the wrong reason for giving him additional deputies. You know, the fact that he may have increased duties and whatnot it needs more people. Well, you have to accept the fact that the people he had before weren't able to handle the load they had before. Who's to say they can't handle additional duties with the existing staff? And I'm saying they can. Managed well, the existing staff can take care of the duties they want. Well, I'm going to put this in form of a motion because I think it's that important. And I'm going to make a motion that doesn't include the 2 new deputies. I'm going to move that the 2026 sheriff's budget line 01130 regulars is at $1,093,369. Do we have a second for that?
I'd like to ask a couple of questions.
So the motion dies for lack of a second. Good.
It appears that you're down 3 people.
Correct.
And one of the persons just hasn't been hired.
That is
And the 2 officers you want, the 2 sheriff deputies that you want to hire, you wanted to hire last year. I'm not seeing real cry for things that aren't being done. So we budgeted last year for 2.
right. And part of the challenge that we have there, as I mentioned, is that it's not unknown. I can go out in the public and people talk about staffing to us, right? They talk about these conversations that we have here today. There's people that watch it, that Ellsworth American covers it and so forth. And part of the issue there and the challenge of hiring those positions, as I mentioned, is the lack of certainty that we will be able to and the support for that. And that's why I've had these conversations with you guys as the commissioners looking for that certainty or that support, because if to put it into perspective, for you yourself, would you apply to a job if you knew that job might not be guaranteed, if you knew that, you could apply and then at the last minute it could be taken away? It's a risk that in law enforcement, certified officers aren't willing to take unless they know that support is there. because they could be blackballed from their current agency. It's tough to recruit certified employees under that concept, under that climate. And, you know, as I mentioned, you know, if able to utilize these positions, I strongly would say that we would be able to hire 2 out of those 3 in the next 6 to 8 weeks, and then we would look at hiring that last one. I don't have a concern about being able to hire the positions. It's difficult to hire the positions when there's no certainty from the commissioners whether or not we'll be able to. Commissioner Clark has strongly voiced his opposition, and, you know, we've had these conversations throughout the year to try to find that ground where we stand. And that's, you know, I think Commissioner Clark put it in a great way. He said, you know, our workload changed 16%. That's what this staffing does. If you want to talk about adequately staffing, that's what this is. And, you know, it's the same conversation that you guys had with IT. It's the same that you had with the DA's office. The DA's office papers still would get filed. IT's calls or the tickets will still get filled. It just may not be on that timeline. And we're talking about the exact same thing. Our responsibilities changed, so did IT's, so did the DA's office. We're just looking at staff it adequately.
That's all talking rhetoric. That's all rhetoric. There's no factual basis there that says, yes, we can show you factually that we need additional.
I did, with the calls for service that I brought in the last meeting, you saw that the mental health calls went up 500%. You saw almost every single category doubled in the last 10 years. That couldn't be any more objective.
And I'd love to know, but they won't provide the information we need, how many of those numbers that they are doing today and assigning numbers to that we have been doing forever. And there's a whole bunch of those. There's numbers in there for detail, for work that deputies don't even do. No background checks, they don't do background checks. I mean, those numbers are inflated just to do what they're asking for today, and that's what's that?
They are, and Commissioner Clark continues to talk about this rhetoric, and that's all he keeps saying. The only objective thing that has been given to you guys is the calls for service that we provide. It shows our workload stuff. We're looking to adequately stuff.
So if they needed more people to do that work, well, why would they implement a minimum calls for, you know, per deputy per month? I mean, it's like, I know you're working your ass off, but I still want you to have a minimum of 30.
That's not what
they
we
need.
did. What we did was a 30 contact requirement for the deputies. And it's the same as many other agencies do. Scott County, the state police, a lot of other agencies around do it. What it is the taxpayers, they want to see their money at work, and we don't blame them. As Commissioner Clark has pointed out, it's not, you can't say that, you can't divide the calls for service that we have in a 24-hour period and say every single day you're going to get a call at 3 p.m. or at 2 p.m. and that's going to take you 10 minutes. That's just not reality. Sometimes you get a rash of them, sometimes you have a lull, right? And so that's the way it always works. It's the same for the RCC, that's the same for the jail taking in inmates, it's the same for us for calls for service. And so with that being said, what we set was our expectation that when those deputies, when they're very busy, we understand. When they aren't as busy, hey, we want you out there in the face of the public, being seen, patrolling the area, doing security checks, going and interacting with people, whether that's stopping at your town office or at your school and so forth, because we want them to be seen in the public eye. We don't want them in the lull. We don't want them sitting and not doing anything. That's what that requirement is designed to do. It's to make our officers active, to get the taxpayers the services that they're paying for. And that does not negate the fact that we took on additional responsibilities and have additional calls for service. That is what we are looking for the staffing for.
So we acknowledge the fact that he has deputies some days and whatnot that aren't busy enough, they need to force them to get out the contacts. So he wants us to staff him for the worst case scenario days.
No,
You can't
I'm
do that.
asking you to staff us for what the calls for service are.
And that's just what we're doing, we're staffing you for those.
And when you acknowledge a 16% increase in that responsibility, but you don't acknowledge an increase in staffing, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't pass
It
the
makes
straight
sense if
face
you
test.
don't know that you couldn't handle them before. Nothing says that the staff you had before couldn't handle the 16% increase. And that's the best case scenario there is all the calls are getting answered.
It's the same concept that you have for the DA's office in IT. Right?
Okay, I'm gonna renew my motion for this line to be $1,093, $1,093,369. So I have a second to that motion.
I'm not sure exactly what your motion is.
Well, the motion doesn't fund the 2 additional deputies.
We still have another deputy that's funded.
Oh, yes, there's a third deputy that's in there, that's in the budget, that will be, that they still can, they haven't filled here for the 8 months, but this removes the 2 additional deputies that were put in for the 25 budget.
Yes, I stand with hire the person that there's a hole for, and let's see where we are there.
So are you seconding the motion?
So under that.
Okay, the motion's been
concept,
made and seconded.
May I just clarify something? Under that concept, Commissioner DeBella, if we hire that additional, that person that you're talking about, so if I bring that name to you next meeting, in the previous meeting that we had, you would say, okay, you said at that point, you'll evaluate whether or not you'll approve that additional position that Commissioner Wambach was talking about. So this would eliminate that possibility is what Commissioner Clark is doing. Because he's taking the funds for that out.
My contention is he does not need those 2 positions. If he could just fill the positions he's got already approved without the 2 additional sufficient staff.
And what I'm saying.
Okay, the sheriff has been wanting to say something.
I was just gonna say that, the one position that we haven't filled, that position was a K-9 officer, and that's still under arbitration as far as I know. So we can't do a whole heck of a lot with that until that's
Excuse
settled.
me, excuse me, I just want to correct you, there's no arbitration. That's a closed deal.
Why is it a closed deal?
They failed to file for arbitration or whatever. You talking about the union grievance?
Yes.
No, they never filed. That's never been filed. So that's a done deal. It's not. All right, I'm gonna call the vote. All those in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the motion stands. So line 130 will be 1,093,369. The FICA med.
What was that number again?
$1,093,000.
1,093,369 for the regular. 05-100, the FICA med will change to 138,305. The line 05-200 retirement will change to 207,904, 207,904. And the workers' comp 05-400, it will change to 60,313. So, keeping with personal services for right now. There's been a 50% increase in your part-time.
Yeah, 4,000.
That's equals 50% increase.
Correct. I was just quantifying.
And looking at your part-time status, it's all basically 1 or 2 deputies.
Correct.
And one of those deputies and whatnot has been doing computer work for you, which hopefully that work will be taken care of with the new position in IT. And I don't think there is any reason to increase that by that amount, and I'm going to suggest that that be reduced back to the original $8,000.
Which line item are we on?
01-300 part-time.
Part of the reason for that increase was due to the fact that we had an individual from the jail that had applied to us, and wanted to pursue part-time work. So that was with the addition of a part-time person.
Even still, they're limited by how much they can work at times. We reduced the money back down there now for his obligations under some of his other work. You've got to take it on money. We agree 8,000. Okay, 8,000 it is. Overtime. Overtime,
The increase in overtime was just proportional to the pay increase. It's not any more hours. It's just quite honestly, it's, if you take a 7.5% increase, you multiply it by 1.5, that's the number.
yes, but you've only spent 76,000 after it, 76,000 after 8 months. So you're not gonna spend your $425,000 this year. So I'm gonna suggest that that be reduced to 125,000, the original amount from last year. Any objections?
Doesn't it not take into account pay increases that are just normally scheduled?
That is correct. That's what I had factored it on.
Right.
So it's not
What
anymore.
I'm saying is that if you look at his year to date, he's only spent 76,000. And so if, at that rate and whatnot, even if with a 7.5% increase, he's not gonna spend 125 next year.
He
doesn't need the 135.
You'd be over 125. If you did the 7.5% increase, you'd be at like 120.
Over what? 7.5% increase over what number you increasing?
Over your concept of the 76,000, if you did the multiple on that and you divided it, it's 9,500 a month, times that by 12, you're at 114. So if you do a multiplication on that, you're at 7.5% times 1.5, that's 11.25, something that's what.
And how much off 125 is that?
I can tell you right now. It's like 127,000.
Yeah, 127.
So
125, gentlemen, is my suggestion for overtime. Okay,
one thing that I would, again, the part of that is we do spend more overtime during our busier months, which is May through September, October. So you're gonna have some inflated months right now. So that 76,000, I wouldn't say is entirely accurate. I mean, if you wanted to cut that one.
May, June, July, and August are your heavy months. You've already compensated for that. This is at the end of August, 76,000. So I mean, you've gone through your heaviest quarter, 1/3 of the year. You've got one of your latest 1/3 coming up. 125, gentlemen. Okay, 125 is K-9 overtime is, I'm suggesting we reduce that to 25,000. Is that the funds paid to the K-9 officer for home care? Good.
Correct.
So, and that's based upon two K-9s, right?
That is correct.
Okay, we don't have 2 K-9s, so we only got one. So I'm suggesting that we reduce that to 25,000. Okay, gentlemen? Anything further with personal services?
Except that it does trickle down and affect, all those changes affect the FICA and Medicare beyond what.
Right, and you'll have to tell us what that
Yes,
is next meeting, yep. Understand that. If not, we'll move down into, I'm gonna go down to training, 07600. With not getting the 2 new deputies, whatnot, I'm gonna suggest we reduce that from 20 to 15.
So currently it's at 16, and part of the reason for that increase was not factoring those additional deputies. It was the fact that the registration for training courses have gone up. The academy for all in-service trainings just increased their training costs. So to go backwards makes 0 sense to me. I mean, that's the 20,000 is due to the increase in training costs. It was
You
not-
just put 2 deputies through the academy, but no, at the end of August, you only used $8,200. So that, it doesn't tell me that you need 15,000 for next year.
Well, if you do that
already
multiple, that's 18,000.
Pardon?
I mean, if you're talking half of the year, and that was what, 9,000? Or just shy?
I'm talking at the end of August, 8 months into your year, 2/3 through the year, after training 2 deputies at the academy, you've only used $8,200.
And I
So
just,
you're not gonna,
I just spent probably another 1,500, $2,000 on training that has not been factored.
yeah, okay, that's fine, but that's still only 10 grand.
Right,
And that's, and 10 grand in 8 months, that computes to 15 grand per year. 15 grand, gentlemen?
you're going back and beyond even what we had before, 15 grand.
Well, I'm saying that 16,000 was more than you needed this year. We only spent 8,200 of the 16 you had, so, and that's the problem. You look at the budget, you say, well, I'm going to increase it by 1,000. Well, I'm looking at what you spent. Did you need what you had? You didn't need what you had.
We spent far more than that. It's just the fact that we've been utilizing the L-Fund grant that has been helping reimburse that.
You're not gonna have the academy training that you thought that you had this year.
Well, the 24, so like in 24, it was 17,644, right?
Right.
Nonetheless, it's only been 8,200 this year, and you had 2 guys in the academy.
Once again, that's because we've been supplementing that with the L-Fund grant, which is not going to be available forever.
You're not gonna have 2 guys in the academy every year either.
How long's the grant last?
But I think it's a year-to-year thing.
Change it to 18.
Do what?
18.
Okay, we're gonna reduce that to 18,000. Moving down to office supplies. I don't see any need to increase that. They're right on track at 5,000 right now, and they could keep that at 5,000. Okay with 5,000 in office? Okay. Public safety. How much of that anticipated for new hires, but they.
None of that was. Public safety.
What constitutes the supplies for public safety?
So that's gonna be your ammunition costs, that's going to be, when we added the addition of the 40mm less lethals, the cost of that ammunition is very expensive. It's, the public safety line is not, we didn't look at increasing it over last year, we're just looking at staying status quo on that. But there's a lot of expenses that we have not purchased yet this year that will be in the next couple of months as far as ammunition, 40 ammunition and so forth. I mean, you're talking thousands of dollars there.
And they still have thousands of dollars left in it.
Which is why we didn't ask for an increase. We just think that line is appropriately funded.
You know what, but even at the thousands of dollars, you spend another 5,000 right now, you get budget. Or you don't have $5,000 worth of ammunition to buy, that's outrageous. I'm saying, gentlemen, we could safely move that public safety from $17,000 to $12,000.
If you look at the 24, what we actually spent was 15, almost 15.5. Like I said, the budget for 24 was 15, and we spent, or it was 12, and we spent 15.5, and then it moved up to 17. Once again, we feel that that's adequately funded, but to go back to 12, we spent 15.5 last year.
Well, you only spent $8,200 in 5-year average. So,
Again, the cost of
you're
things that
trying
we
to
don't
take
agree.
bad year, and make it look like that's your standard purchase.
I'm not, I just think that the cost of things have increased over 5 years, I think we could all agree on that.
And I think, not 15. So we're gonna reduce that to 15,000. Moving down. I don't think there's any reason to increase their gas consumption from 65 to 70,000. Right now, after 8 months, they've only used 43. And, who knows what gas is gonna do? Price is cheaper this year than it was last year. So I'm suggesting 65,000 for gas. Any opposition to that?
Six of fuels.
It jumps up and down, and who knows? I mean, like I say, gas is cheaper right now than it was a year ago. So we're gonna reduce that to 65. Canine supplies, 620. They've used less than $1,000 this year. And I'm suggesting that we could reduce that 32 down to $2,000. You okay?
The average has been 2,000.
The average has been 1,900 over 5 years. Okay with 2,000, right? Vehicle repair, they've got a whole fleet of brand new vehicles.
Keep in mind, I keep giving them the hard time that I want to run these vehicles to 150,000
Well, that's part of it,
So
and
I don't want to.
I will,
Well, they're not gonna have 120,000 on these vehicles next year.
I will,
I'm
we,
just trying to say.
I will say that we will certainly have a few in the 115, 120, and with that being said, we've had significant repairs on vehicles over 100,000 to the tune of, 6,000 here, 7,000 there. And if you look at what we've spent year to date on the vehicles, we feel that the 55,000 is just an accurate projection of that.
I think it's hard to tell a lot of the vehicles pay for the repairs and then get another vehicle.
But you're not telling them to hold,
And
you're
not
not telling them to hold on to the vehicle.
What's that?
You're not telling them to hold on to vehicles.
I am.
Why didn't you tell them that when they wanted to sell pickups with 100,000 miles on? Christ, I looked at the paper the other day and there's a 2017 four-wheel drive crew cab pickup, $21,000. If somebody's gonna spend $21,000 and it had 107,000 miles on it, no, it's not good enough for us. Okay, we're gonna leave vehicle repair where it is. Did we overstate last year the vehicle insurance, Michael?
I mean, it's quite possible, but I think,
Well, we must have, excuse me, Michael, we must have paid it this year, right?
well, that's what I was just gonna double check with Monica. Do you know if we paid the full year now at this point?
Do we pay it one payment?
It's
Bro,
No, I think it gets spread out over
2 or 3.
the year.
We must know what our annual premium is, don't we?
Not off the top of my head.
No, I don't mean that, but I mean,
yeah, we would know what. it
we would
be.
know.
Yeah, just, I don't know off the top of my head either.
But we need to check that because have we only paid a portion of that? Because if we have, what's the balance? And that gives us a better idea of what we need next year. And the thing about it is, it's like insurance. if we don't budget enough, then we're gonna have to find the money somewhere to get it. But if we budget too much, we tax people for money they need to give us. So I'd rather go conservative. And then we'll have to find the money from some other place if it's more than the other way around.
I think maybe it's paid prorated monthly. I mean, we've already spent 33,271 as of the end of August. So I think it probably gets broken up and paid out.
Well, if you're paying equal monthly payments, it's only 45,000 a year, 48,000 a year.
Yeah, I'll have to check.
If that be the case, we shouldn't be raising more than 50,000 next year.
Yeah, it's 49.9.
What?
If you do if you're talking about monthly payments, it's 49.9.
Right. Well, I think we should reduce that to 50. We can always amend it later, but at the rate we're going right now, it's less than 50,000 for this year.
The only thing that I would bring your attention to is if you look at the 24 actual, it was 42.4. This year it'd be 49.9. So it's an increase of 6,500. So if you were to do that same thing, it would be like 56, 57,000 for next year. But again, you're saying it's going to increase at the same rate.
Let's find out for sure what we paid this year. We're gonna reduce that to 50 today, though, and then we can adjust that later. Advertisements. We haven't spent anything this year.
We just haven't got the bill off that yet, but it's just about 500 so far this year. It's about 400 and some dollars every advertisement.
Okay, so that's a couple next year, that's $1,000. I say we reduce that to 1,000. Okay? All right. Criminal investigation reports. Spent only 1,000 this year.
So that's what we charge our drug testing to. That 1,000 has been with the implementation of a TrueNarc for the agencies in the area to utilize. So those are the testing kits for that. We have not had, as of late, we have not had a significant lab bills as far as drug testing goes. That comes in waves. If you look at, obviously, yeah, I mean, we decreased that by 1,000 because we don't want to go in the red, but we feel that with the addition of the TrueNarc in the area, it will reduce our costs a little bit. But we still,
When did you implement that?
probably a month and a half ago.
So why do you only spend $1,000 this year if you didn't have the TrueNarc?
A lot of it has to do with what we have for drug cases, with whether or not the DA's office says they're gonna want to test it and so forth, for prosecution. So we're
Well,
kind of at the
even
mercy
without
of-
TrueNarc, it was only $3,000 on 5-year average. I'm suggesting that we reduce that to $3,000.
If I may recommend 4, and the only reason there is because if your average is 3,000, with the addition of the TrueNarc, the testing kits for the TrueNarc are about $1,000 or
So
so.
one thing about it, good God, if it's 4, you're gonna spend 4, when you get 3 and on.
Right. but
So,
we're trying to
all right,
come up
so
with a
let's
realistic
only
budget that
raise
we're in
3.
red on.
Let's raise 3, and if you have to have 4, you're gonna spend it anyways. 3,000, gentlemen? Okay, 3,000. The vehicle purchases in 35,100, why isn't that down in our reserve account?
It could be, when I was talking with Monica, she said that that is the more appropriate place for the funds to be placed for purchases, but if you wanted to move it to the vehicle reserves, we would not be opposed to that. I think that's just a matter of,
Well, the problem,
I thought you had actual purchases to make.
we do plan on making actual purchases, as we discussed last year. It was to basically, over the next couple of years, put what we believe would be a number in there to be then supplemented by the vehicle reserve, because with the introduction of, obviously during times of ARPA funds, we used ARPA funds to buy vehicles. now, as ARPA funds were going away, we had to reintroduce the budgeting of vehicles again, not to shell shock the budget completely. And so in doing that, we were told, or the direction you guys gave us last year was to put a number in there that we intend on supplementing with the vehicle reserve. And so we do anticipate, again, as we have, to maintain that pattern so that we are not left with a year where we're purchasing, 8, 9 cars. We anticipate, replacing 4 vehicles next year. If we take, 100,000 from vehicle reserves, that brings us to that number that we need.
You're not gonna buy 4 cars next year. I'm gonna suggest that we zero out 35,100, we put 200,000 down here in vehicle reserves, 7,300. Okay? John? All right.
How much was going into the reserve account again? 200.
200,000 in the 300.
Thank you.
And zero out the 35,100.
That's the equipment, is that the equipment to the vehicles?
So, no, that equipment line, again, we placed it here, on consider for making purchases, or we intended to purchase the most appropriate location. That is in part, the contractual cost for the cruiser cameras, so that's the annual contractual cost. In addition to that, we have, looked at and met with some vendors, to get pricing on for purposes of budgeting. We would like to purchase AEDs for our deputies. Oftentimes being rural, they're, a lot of times they're the first ones to the calls, and the AEDs are fairly inexpensive. It would be 34,000 outfit the entirety of the patrol. And we would like to do that. In addition to that, that number also includes, and speaking of the jail, theirs was due to be replaced as well. And so we had also included replacing the jails as well.
The lifetime is on, I'm just curious.
In speaking with them, if my memory serves me correctly, I think it's like 8 years or so.
That's all I have with the sheriff's department. Do you have anything else? Amy, okay with that? All right, that's it. Civil process.
Did you want to go to town contracts? I have that next.
Oh,
on
I'm
my
sorry,
list.
I didn't, yeah. Jail is next. I'm not sure, we're not gonna do anything with your numbers, are we?
Well, there is one question right now. I mean, we met again yesterday to review what we calculated to be the actual jail cap number for this year. And then we made some proposed changes in Department 12 to get that close, and I think we ended up with what, like 23, 24.
$38,000.
Well, we do have an issue, yeah, if you could come to the podium, Tim, we do have an issue with that jail budget. As of right now, we have a funding gap, $30,000, correct?
Yeah. That was the issue.
That budget though, and hopefully settlement funds it, right?
Yeah, we increased it to 300,000 just in the conversation.
300?
We went to the
And I'm saying that
330,000.
if we can put 300, we can put 330 and balance that. I'm gonna suggest that we put 330,000 and hopefully settlement funds in that, and that way we comply with the jail cap.
And one thing I'd like to add, while we're in the conversation here, is that we did add in the federal revenue issue. A couple weeks ago, meetings ago, you gave us authority to start working with other counties for boarding inmates. Andrew is gonna start this week boarding inmates here. Month with the so we did put $100,000 into the 26 revenue for that.
So if it works,
I think we've had a lot of conversations, the sheriff and I, and over there also. They set the rate, which is very fair. They're gonna give us 85 a day. Hopefully inmates.
Okay, back on the opioid, so add another 30 to balance that, is that okay, guys?
It
Joe?
used to be $30,038.
Which is it's 800,000, 850,000. And according to Mr. Smith, what's his name? Gordon Smith, who's the guru. If you can justify that in medical expenses, then you can raise it, you can apply it. So we've got more than 330,000 in medical.
To know what we did, the medical budget itself, the contract we have offsets that.
So he's blessed. All right, so that's what we're gonna do with the budget.
Okay.
I don't see anything else that we want to do with that. All right, okay? All right, back to town contracts. The big thing for me is that the revenue equals the expenses, which it does. Nothing to talk about, I don't think.
Okay.
You understand, gentlemen? That's it. All the contracts are provided to be fully reimbursed, okay? Civil process. We need a crystal ball to figure out how much the revenue is gonna be. They've increased it to 10 grand, which is commendable. I don't think we. Then we go to, expenditures. Only thing I see is keeping the civil process vehicle reserve account at 8,000. They increased it from 8 to 12.
The only reasoning there was because with the papers that we're getting is that it used to be, you get more papers, fees have gone up so that we can charge more, which is the reason for the revenue. However, the papers are a little bit fewer now in between, so they're not as constricted in areas. So like, for example, Ernie on a given day is going from Hancock to Blue Hill to Deer Isle to MDI and so forth. So he's putting more miles on the truck. And I believe he's like over 50 now as it is. And so I was just looking, anticipation, getting a trade in for that as well. I was just looking to try to keep it up to where it needs to be in order to buy it.
By the time it gets to 150,000. 8,000, gentlemen, keep that at 8,000. Sam, you okay with that? Okay, 8,000 it is. Anything else in civil process? Hearing nothing, we'll move on to IT. The agency revenue, tell us again what that is.
Airport.
Oh, we probably got it somewhere. Well, run it through, give us a pretty copy.
Do you guys want to just do Department 46, is that all you have left for
Yes,
sheriff?
it is.
Wait.
Oh, sorry, yep, we can do that. Jump right up there, whoever wants to talk about.
What, we're doing 46?
Exact model we did last year based on that sheet that you had sent me on how to calculate it. As of right now, I have not had a solid answer from MDEA whether or not they'll have that statement position come to fruition. So that's the updated where I'm at. I mean, I can certainly cement an answer prior to the conclusion of the budget, but as far as today goes, that's what I have.
So of the drug agents shown in the 26 budget, how many of those are in place right now? I'm sure the 169,000 drug agents.
Are you talking expenditure line?
Expenditures.
So the 169,000. I don't understand the question.
Well, is that projecting you're gonna hire somebody, or are those people that are already hired working right now? Are we paying for anybody right now?
No, that would be hiring.
I thought the deal was that they hired, first two, we hired the last one.
No, the deal was they hire one, we hire one. It was a 1-for-1.
Does that one cost us 169,000 salaries?
That is 2 at the state wages.
Who's the other one?
So the form that you had sent us on how to calculate it was for the drug task force agents was 2, that line would be 2 agents at the state rate. And then,
That's what I'm confused about. Are we agreeing to provide 2 agents if the state provides 1?
we are agreeing to provide 2 bodies with the
Bodies.
state paying for 1. It was a 1-for-1.
Okay, so
But the reimbursement would be at
the
the state rate.
reimbursement takes care of the 1.
Would be at the
Correct.
state rate. Right.
Correct. With the above and beyond, so it takes care of basically 1.25, because it's the 1 plus the main drug rate difference.
I
between
get you,
our agencies.
I got you, okay, I got you.
Yeah, we had, like I said, we had just exactly copied the form that you had provided last year.
I get you. So we're actually, even though we're paying for 2, we're getting reimbursed for 1
Correct.
entirely. Yeah.
Correct.
Anything else for this gentleman? Pretty straightforward. The unfortunate truth of the matter is that it's probably never gonna happen. Depends on the state. Chuck, where's that copy? Okay, but before we get there, let's talk about personal services. Can we effectively hire the person we're looking for 60,000?
That's our hope. That's the market, I think.
You think we can? Okay, we can. Does Spillman require that the technician go out do taps every year?
No, but actually it's on a rotation basis, like an aide, like a rolling and being, and I send one of them every 3rd year, so I get them on 3-year rotation. Abe just got the Stillman training and he stepped on, so I plan on sending him this year.
Who's a?
Abe Shevler, is
Okay,
that?
RCC.
He's an RCC, leverage, and then his ability, just like Raleigh down there, and he's a dispatcher, and I've got him in Stillman administration, so. We had to send him this year, but I think that amount for
Travel.
travel.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think that can be reduced, though.
Do what?
I think the travel part, we went, this past year, they went for $3,100. So, I mean, we have a budget for 5,500, I think 4,000 probably.
We're gonna reduce that to 4,000. Okay,
The next one, I had a question, I'm jumping into you guys, question mark. Utilities, the phone, 15-100. I know we did new contracts for the new phone system we did, and I just noticed that our actual is at 8,000 and we budgeted 29, so is our new contract saving us that much money? That we can reduce that down?
See what it looks like in August.
So I knew we were supposed to get savings, but that's a good one.
As of the end of August, it's 12,851.
Yeah, so we'll probably be able to do it for $20,000 instead of 32. So I think we can take that budget line, take 32.5 out, make it 20,000.
that's what we're looking for.
The last one I see I can do a little bit on is the 3325, which is computer support. I'm relying less and less on Sierra. I don't think it has to be 13. I think we can
reduce it down to 11 this year. My suggestions.
The internet price goes up, that dark fiber, that's a huge cost. Yeah.
That's a necessary one for that location.
Well, hate to skim over something as hefty as that. Too much of it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, the details we got gave you is, I mean, there's no flexibility in that. Costs are what those accounts.
Just 10 years ago, this board of commissioners fainted if they got a budget like that. Are we done? Well, we've got. Oh, HR. Still need.
Yeah.
Oh, we're just done with Chuck.
Great, thanks.
I'm the pain. Delirious. So, HR has no revenues. Rate expenses. Wages and what they are. First year budget. This professional services, that's the consultant we want to hire for that wage study.
Yeah, so the 20,000 that is budgeted for the consulting services that we would do next year.
So, we're using the G account. We're using, I don't want to say somebody else's, but HR doesn't have their own
Well,
equipment account in,
it's shared with the commissioners.
are you budgeting for something?
Well, I had really just taken a small share of what the commissioners had budgeted there, just in case with the new EOC, just in case we need any equipment for there. The 500 that I budgeted for the equipment was just really for an emergency items. But where this is my first year budget, I'm not really sure what I'll need yet.
Well, unlike what we just did earlier today, if you thought you're gonna need $500 in 26 for equipment, we should be putting it into an expenditure account and not a reserve account. And I wouldn't be opposed to establishing another line up above for, in your supply account for equipment. And moving that 500 up there. Typically, what we do is put 500 in your budget till the end of the year, and then we put it in the G account. I think you're gonna do that in 26, we should be putting it in your budget. So pull that up into a new number and supplies. That's the only recommendation I have for that. You all set?
It's not.
All set? Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
And we did take away the legal fees from him and put it back into the commissioners.
Yeah. So debt service. No reason to believe that we're not gonna need a TN in 26.
No, not that I'm aware of. Not unless we come into a bunch of new money, no. But then that, the EOC stuff should have been expended and,
This really is one of those things where I'd rather have that budgeted amount and not need it than to really need $100,000 and have to come up with.
I mean, the difficulty is we have to run basically 9 to 10 months of the year without revenues coming in.
Well, I understand what it's for.
So, but
Yeah.
we've been blessed the last 4 or 5 years because of the ARPA funds. And now we just have to go back to the way pretty much every other county has to do it as well, except for those that benefited by changing their calendar from the calendar to the fiscal year, and now the law changed that allows them to do basically biannual budget,
Collect
biannual
taxes
taxes
twice a year.
now. But you still can't collect the taxes before October or September, sorry. So it doesn't help us at all. So basically, we're just, if we stay on the current year we have, then we're always gonna have to borrow funds. I don't see that there's any way around that.
Do you think 100,000 is the total interest cost for TN next year?
Hoping that's what the cost will be.
Hoping it's no more than that.
Right.
Because I was wondering if,
If we get it earlier in the year, we have to obviously pay more interest on the loan.
And
how early would we be getting it? At the earliest?
generally, you'd be setting this up so you'd be that like March, April time period where you'd actually have.
Yeah. Instead of August or September.
I'm thinking that we're not going to totally pay for EOC costs until it's summer. I'm just wondering if our income interest would offset some of this. If we could reduce this to 75,000 in hopes that the income interest would help us meet the 100,000.
And so if we look at what I anticipated for, I think I still anticipated 130,000 in interest for the year. Didn't reduce it much. This year we were anticipating 150,000.
I was thinking more cash flow on it, but not total income. In other words, come April 1st, we found we're gonna have to have a TAN. Well, maybe we don't need the TAN April 1st because we still have income interest coming in because we haven't
Oh, right.
spent all our EOC money. If we
Right.
don't spend all our EOC money until August 1st, then can we put off the tan, which would save us interest?
Yeah, I mean, that is up to you. If you want to try to reduce that amount, that's,
Well, I'd like to know if it's risky, too risky to reduce that to 75,000 and hope that we could,
I mean, it's risky to estimate that we're probably not gonna pull on that until August, because I just don't.
pull on the EOC money.
Well, being able to wait that long to have the cash flow. I mean, the other part of this we haven't talked about, but I mean, the markets and what's gonna happen with the rates. I mean, you got the president firing people he's never fired before. So we have no idea what the heck's gonna happen with the market. So we could get 75 maybe perfectly fine if the rates go down or the other rates go up and we get interest earnings. I mean, but that's pushing it like 4 months beyond what normally the county historical would have been doing in the past. In an unstable market right now, as far as I'm concerned.
But this year, we took a tan for 25, right?
We did, but that's because we knew that we knew the EOC project was gonna take longer and we weren't gonna spend that 1.7, but realistically, it depends on how much work they get done, but I mean, they're gonna keep billing us for stuff, whether it's done or not. I mean, so it's just, again, that's the same question, but the trouble with this is you've got no fallback if we go wrong on this, especially if you use the philosophy that you were stating earlier about, we'll find money. Well, this is cash flow, so we don't have anywhere else to go unless you want to, in the back of your mind, say, we're gonna take and try to do loans and other stuff, which you've done apparently in the past, but we haven't tested the legality of that or.
But if you reduce that to 75, it doesn't mean you can't go out for a tan until August. I mean,
It doesn't, but it means that you won't have enough money in your budget to pay for it.
Because you pay your interest, tan interest monthly.
Not only depends on how it's set up, because if you, like right now, we're not paying anything on it unless we draw on it.
Right. What I'm saying is that you don't pay the $100,000 the day you sign your tan bill.
So obviously not.
Right. I'm just saying that if you only had 75 in there, you needed to support your cash flow. Then the additional 25, if it turned out to be 100,000, wouldn't be needed until late in the fall.
Quite possibly, yes, but it's still going to be needed, so you have to, see, that's the kind of the trouble we're running right now. See, if you look at the past couple of years, we're not maintaining a healthy fund balance at the end of the day, or anything like that. So you gotta come up with the money to pay for this, it's still part of the budget process, obviously. So even if we physically can pay the 100,000, we're still taking it from somewhere else in the budget, so where else are we taking that 25,000 from? It's like, well, then Peter pay Paul, and it's a shell game, you're constantly doing it. And at some point, which I think has been where we've been the last couple of years, because we're not putting money back in there where we can go back to you and say, let's offset the budget by transferring X dollars over there. I mean, unless Monica feels differently, because you're more involved in it, but I mean, at some point, it can't be looked at as, well, we've got the money coming in, it's still part of this year's budget, regardless of how you calculate it. So you've got to, in order to balance, you've either got to have a much healthier revenue come in than what you projected, which could offset it, or you've got to cut the 25 out. I mean, as long as everybody understands that, then it's just a matter of monitoring that, and we know going in that that's kind of how you want to approach it. But we can't create money. Can you?
Keep it in.
Monica can, that'd be pretty cool, but.
I mean, how sure are you that nothing's gonna happen on the EOC until a certain date? I mean,
My good liberal friend over here wants to keep it at 100. Somebody's gotta watch hockey looking at this.
Yeah, but somebody's got to pay for it too, so that's the drawback here. All these ones where you reduce it, at the end of the day, if they do go over, that money's got to come from somewhere. So you still either got to get more revenue coming in, or you got to cut expenses. And right now, I don't see at the end of the year, we're going back to these people and telling them, cut your expenses. So, I mean, that would really take a more, if you want us to do that, then we would have to get a more active approach with the department heads and say, here's our revenue expense forecast, and guess what, commissioners are telling you you're on a hiring freeze, you're on a spending freeze, or whatever.
Geez, wouldn't that be a shame?
I'm just saying that's the way you do it.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
I'm not advocating for it, but that's how, and we haven't done that up to this point, but at some point, somebody's gotta make sure that those balances are being accounted for.
you gave us the end of August figures. I didn't see in totality how we were doing for the total budget. You probably don't have that.
No, it's looking like everything is right about at that 60% mark, as far as, if you look at the individual departments.
Yeah, it should be like 65.
Yeah. I can have numbers for you.
No, I just, okay, I don't know. That was debt service, so we still got more than something here. You know, the
Department
Department
17
17.
and 35.
17, we've done, oh,
we're not gonna change those numbers, right?
right,
After that is what, insurance? We, does the county have any involvement with Anthem?
well, everybody's, I think right now the county uses Allegiant, but that doesn't mean that there's not a connection there to Anthem. We've had a couple of, 1 or 2 retirees who have called with concerns on where, what's gonna happen to their policy. Of course, we have no way of.
No.
So, Monica, on my version, it doesn't look like I have a commissioner's line item for that account, so.
No, only because
All right,
we hadn't previously spoken about these.
so we can't give them a budget number today anyway, then, unless you've got it on yours.
It's connected to the first column.
So right now, that is, see, I went in and made the changes on commissioners. So
Right.
so the changes we made to payroll aren't gonna reflect on this, correct? So then we can't give.
Not on here. You can't make changes there and expect to see changes, but I have it
But
here.
can you do it on your laptop, is what I'm asking.
Yes.
All right, so
Just
then,
because that's not in the commissioners column doesn't mean it's not already reflecting in the,
yeah, no, but that's what I'm trying to clarify, so that we, before we tell them it's an accurate number, because I know I can't do it on this one now, but you can do it on yours.
right.
All right,
But you still have some FICA workers' comp and
Um,
whatnot, numbers that you've got to refer.
I have a version of the budget spreadsheet that had reflected your changes. So I've been making changes
Were you able to do workers' comp?
all along,
Oh.
right. Oh, what few payroll changes there are. So, Michael, I do have an insurance amount in the spreadsheet.
all right, as long
It's
as.
just not in the commissioner's column there.
So we're not gonna do anything with health insurance, right?
Well, no, I mean,
don't-
effectively what happens is with some of the payroll reductions, then that number in theory would have changed, correct? Because we would have removed 2 positions at least that we wouldn't have had anywhere in the budget that we would have
Well-
incorporated before.
This is all, I mean, the 1.2 million is a completely an estimate. We don't know yet what the insurance rates are for 2026.
No, we don't know what the rates are.
So I can't reflect.
But isn't that to a degree tied to the estimates that we have for positions?
No,
Okay,
right now, it's looking at 1.153 for 2025, and
Well, wait a minute.
So it's a crapshoot.
Can't we compute that?
I can, but I haven't yet.
Okay,
It's-
because we can't, no,
It's way too much.
the only positions we can't compute are the new hires.
Right,
There's
right,
no-
but I
We know
can
what everybody.
calculate Right.
We know what everybody
I
else
just
is.
haven't gotten that far in the spreadsheet to actually calculate the health insurance number at the
Michael,
bottom.
You do a spreadsheet though for every employee, right?
Yeah, that's part of the payroll.
And you can, and you compute,
Which I made changes, and I'm assuming that Monica went and did that too, but apparently those aren't looped.
Not the health insurance amounts, no,
you can't tally.
I just can't
I mean,
today.
I thought that they were just because they do add up in that spreadsheet, but
Yes, they do. I haven't reflected it over there because we don't have the 2026.
so it won't be able to be as far as we want, but you know, again, you've got to have a decision by the next meeting because it gives us less than 2 weeks to advertise and everything else, which I'll have to at least put the advertising in. We just won't have a final budget ready to give to you.
Okay.
So,
Are we done with the budget? Are we just taking for granted everything else is okay?
well, the reserves as well, right? You guys, you've already talked about it, but the Department 30 reserve,
Right.
that 250.
One more.
Animal control?
Animal control had been reviewed previously and there were no changes there.
That can't make it different. We have our part-time guy.
Yeah, I mean, basically the wages, so we only pay the people based on time they work. So even if we hire a second back person, the first one doesn't get paid for not performing the work, his deputy or backup person. So basically, we're still looking at the hours of work that's been done. It may be a little bit more because we might be able to catch a little bit more volume on things that we haven't been able to respond to, but it shouldn't impact what's there.
Shouldn't approach.
Yeah, it shouldn't impact what's there at all. So, unless we start adding a whole bunch more, which we could. But.
All right, so we done?
No, there's the reserves, the Department 30. Which includes the $250,000,
Building.
that's right.
So we're done. To, death benefits. Benefits.
Unless you have questions.
You have any questions? What's that total budget before we started working? Remember
Oh, what was it?
the increase?
Today's changes, it was 12.4%. And right now, I believe it's around 10.
10?
Where were we last year?
At this time last year, it was quite a bit higher.
We were in the 20s before
Yeah.
we sent it to them. I think we got down to 17.
Yeah.
Does that complete our budget agenda? Then let's move on to administrative comments.
So one item I did want to go over with the commissioner, just give you a brief update. Monica, myself, Chairperson. No, isn't that horrible? Virginia Martin, Clark, and Dennis Walls met with representatives of the court system and stuff. And we did get updates, which we'll share with you as well. But one of the things we talked about was the lease for projected till around May of 2028, I think it was anyway. And that'll be another guess whether or not that's actually when they get in there. But we did discuss about upping or increasing the rates. We have to suggest that to them as soon as possible, but I would really wanted to, one, get you updated and see if you are comfortable knowing that Commissioner Clark's on that committee as well, us coming up with an amount to send to the state, because they need that number to meet their budget timelines here pretty quick as well. So we need to give them probably that number within the next week or so. So if the full commission's okay with us commencing, it'll be obviously a percentage above what we're getting right now. We just couldn't guarantee what, at this moment, what we would recommend or what they might obviously come back and counter with. But at some point, you would have to prove the ultimate amendment or change to a lease agreement anyway. Okay, thank you.
But we didn't really come up with a,
We haven't come up with an amount, so I mean, that would be the next step, really, probably coming up with a figure and then just kicking that around between the four of us.
We did give them something, what was it?
We gave them the, like statewide average, but it was more centric to southern Maine, because that's what Dennis had found at the time.
That's what.
Yeah, so it's probably a little bit higher than what we would recommend, but we certainly can come up with something. And I think that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Any comments from the commissioners? Jill, you all set? Sam?
All set.
And I'm all set.
All right, let's move to adjourn.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Because Josh sent you some information about what
I sent him some stuff back. We actually